Happy Thirsty Thursday, everyone. This is Bourbon and BS Podcast. We're going to start on doing the live real quick as you're tuning in now, so thank you for joining, and then we'll get into our audio as we do every week. So, how's it going, Steve?
It's going well. I'm trying to pull it up on our Facebook feed, and all I see are memes from everyone else. So
That's a big thing nowadays. No one even says anything anymore on Facebook.
GIFs.
It's just memes.
Yeah. Right.
GIFs and memes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good shot there, I think. We can see our feet, so don't do anything weird on the table. Where's that box at? Well, before we go live on the audio, we've got a special gift from Cadence, right, Dustin? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna back off and open this. If I have room.
Hopefully, no more. Hopefully, no more snakes.
No more snakes. Oh wow.
What is it? What do we got here?
We can take that and put it back over there. We have
Newspapers? Oh, man.
Addressed to me.
Fantastic.
New York Times newspaper. The greatest moments in Chicago Cubs history.
What's the date on that?
Compilation of historic newspaper pages. It looks like it's a combination of a lot of like front headline stuff and then the sports pages. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think this is probably highlights, and then it probably has a bunch of the newsprint inside of there. So, huge Cubs fan. It says 2016, so that was right after I think they won the World Series. So
very nice.
Cadence, thank you very much. I hope you're watching. To the whole Bovey family, thank you very much.
That's awesome, man.
Very
And
nice.
that's fantastic. So, definitely cool memorabilia there. Once I set up the office and everything, it'll go in there.
If you didn't know, folks, Steve is a huge Cubs fan.
Brandon, will you set that
And
over
Bears
there with
fan.
that?
All Chicago.
All right, thank you. And
Yeah.
I love the card. The card.
Very nice.
And Cadence is
There's a
5.
smiley face on there. That's
She's
awesome.
5. Very nice.
Cryptid.
That's fair.
That's awesome.
Rebellious already. I love it.
So as we're getting
love it.
started, thank you, Cadence, and everyone for tuning in tonight. Tell us what you're smoking. Tell us what you're drinking. If you are tonight, it's a wonderful evening in the Midwest in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. We are accompanied tonight by Brandon Karst, repeating guest on the podcast, and it's awesome to always have his intellect on here. He's always bringing some fire with his points of view and stuff. So,
How do you feel about that? Intellect.
We'll see. I'm a little tired tonight, so
long day at work, huh?
long day at work.
All right. And then to the left of me, we got William the Red.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
It's going all right. Going all right.
It's good to hear.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you here.
Why, thank you.
This is the first episode you've been on.
Yes, my very first one.
So if people don't know, Will has a very, very large pipe collection, right?
Somewhat. Yeah.
I mean, how many pipes do you...
Like 9 or 14, something like that.
But you carry like 4
Yeah.
at all times.
At all times. Gotta rest that pipe.
Well, he loves pipe tobacco so much that the Tinderbox actually named a blend after him.
Yes.
Called William the Red.
Very honored. Very blessed.
And is it cherry?
It's a dark Cavendish with a hint of vanilla and cherry.
Very nice.
Very
Smells
smooth.
amazing.
Oh, yes.
Smells
Always
amazing.
get a compliment on it. Yes.
It's definitely one of our top sellers.
Awesome.
All the time.
Should be. It's good flavor, good aroma.
Yes.
You get any commissions off of that?
We'll talk after the program.
Yeah, no, we'll talk. Drink more.
All right. Cheers.
So as Steve's sharing this and getting this up, we would encourage you guys to do the same. Like it, share it. That's how we grow this thing. Last week we had about 70 shares, and it's awesome to always see that. I think it's mostly Steve with his groups, but
No, actually, it's not. I just did mine, so we're good.
we're good. Okay.
you share this
So for the first
currently?
15, now the rest of the 90 is up to you guys.
Exactly.
So
I should
everyone
probably
share it,
this
like it.
right now, huh?
You should.
Get the friends on.
It's good.
Get going.
Yeah, get it spread.
All right, let's... What are we smoking tonight?
We're going to be smoking the Laranja Toro, which you said you didn't know we had this. I didn't know we had
I
it
forgot we
either.
had that size, yeah.
Okay. So we'll get into that a little
there
bit more. And Steve was kind enough to pick up a Russell's 10-year, which is one of our good old favorites. And we'll get into the history of wild turkey and those things like that. And then we're going to be talking about positive, momentum which will be definitely a good subject for Will and Brandon and all four of us, really. So
Absolutely.
So we want to thank our sponsors. Who are those, Steve?
So, I want to thank our sponsors, Altadis USA. They are the ones that provide our second cigar of the night, and they're going to be helping us out more this upcoming year. So look forward to some more changes with that. So Paul Waller and Alex out there and Josh Bentley, all of our contacts at Altadis, which is Monte Cristo, Upman, Romeo Julieta. We've got
Aging Room,
Banker, Butera. So the Banker from Upman is our second cigar tonight. And then also Tinderbox at Easton, which provided the Laranja, which I'm looking forward to smoke. So actually, I was surprised we haven't done that one yet.
Yeah.
I know.
Honestly.
I'm glad you hadn't.
So it'll be good.
This is one of Steve's favorites, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Mine as well.
And then BS Cigar Company as well for supporting. There's definitely some around the garage. I know on the table right next to me. So we should hopefully have something by the end of the year with the BS Gold and more sizes of the BS Silver coming into the shop here shortly. So
it's awesome to hear.
Working on stuff constantly, which is good.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Positive momentum, man.
That's right.
I can't say it.
That's right.
Altogether.
Yeah, and Anthony says Espinosa love. Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Share it now while we get started. If you're interested in sharing it to any pages or on your personal page, whatever, we appreciate it. Absolutely.
All righty. Ready, Nate?
Ready.
That was a kind of weird one.
I like that.
Wasn't it?
I went right into my brain.
Welcome, everyone. Happy Thirsty Thursday. I'm Jake Sanders along with Steve Crane, and we make up the Bourbon and BS podcast. This is episode 85. Tonight we will be discussing positive momentum. I can't really talk tonight.
Positive momentum.
Yes.
Just build up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if this is your first time tuning in, we talk about whiskey, we talk about cigars, and we talk about life. And that's what we think separates us apart from the rest of the group. And we hope that you appreciate it as much as we do. We are accompanied tonight by who tonight, Steve?
We have to my right, stage left, Brandon Karst back on, which I happy to have him on. Longtime friend of me and also the podcast and Jake and William. And that brings me to William, stage right, my left, William the Red Marshman.
Hi.
William, is this your first podcast?
Yes, it is.
Do you know what a podcast is?
Yes.
Super talkative. William is a pipe smoker, cigar smoker, Viking.
A little bit.
Viking, a little Irish.
About a half a cup.
About a half a cup.
A wee cup.
And he's also, believe it or not, my courier, my postman.
If it couldn't get creepier.
Yeah. What do you always say about being my postman? What do you get to do every day?
Place mail in your box.
That's not how
with
you
a
say
smile.
it, though. That's not how you say it, though.
No?
Something about putting your hand somewhere.
Something like that.
Where do you, what do you...
But in your box where...
There you go. All right. Perfect. So,
Thank you guys for being on tonight.
Yeah,
absolutely.
appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Yes. So, getting into it a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to be drinking the Russell's Reserve 10-year, coming out of Wild Turkey that Steve was gracious enough to get tonight.
Thank you.
Yes. And initial thoughts, have you guys tried it?
Yeah, I've tried it. I mean, I've been on enough. You guys at least know my issues with all the describing flavors.
I know.
But I like this one. It's good. It's easy to drink.
Yeah.
It's not hot or anything. There's no burn. It's just there's more flavor than that whiskey burn that you get from a lot of whiskeys. It's enjoyable to drink along with a smoke.
You had tacos before this, right?
I did. They were actually Williams tacos. Compliments of Fido.
Is that another innuendo?
No.
Okay.
No, it's just,
They're really good tacos.
They're
I
tasty.
bet they are. Before we get too far into it, I like Eric Black says Happy Turkey Thursday, drinking wild turkey, and that's
Decades. He's having the
He's
decades.
having decades. It's very
Very nice.
fitting for this, and you'll get into that why that is fitting with Russell's.
Yeah, it's awesome. Great
And then
history.
we did it on the video, but I do want to thank our sponsors, Altadis USA. For those of you guys watching the video, you've heard this already, but I want to get our audio listeners to hear it as well. But thank you to Altadis USA, which is Romeo Julieta, Monte Cristo, Upman, Butera, Aging Room, Onyx, the list goes on. So we've got the Upman Banker. We're going to be smoking second. And then also to the Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio for the Laranja, which is from Espinosa Cigars. So we'll go over that tonight. That's what we're going to be reviewing. And then also BS Cigar Company. Got a couple comments. Anthony says, can't wait to try BS Silver. If you guys are interested in, you can check online if you want, or check your brick and mortar, I'd recommend. Or if you want, you can also contact the show or Tinderbox at Easton for any of these smokes. So the Laranja, if you guys want us, we do shipping about once a week. So you can always get like a 5-pack. The Laranja this week will be 15% off through the Tinderbox at Easton. So we usually recommend doing at least a 5-pack so it will be useful as far as the shipping costs. And then also the BS stuff at any time if you guys are interested in trying the BS or needing more BS as far as the gold when we get it back in and also the silver right now. Just contact us at the show or also, again, Tinderbox at Easton, which we can link to as well. And then I also want to thank, before we go too far, Jake, the StogieBird.com and Sam Lucia for last week.
Yeah.
That coupon code, if you go to StogieBird.com, check out last week's episode because we opened up some of the sample products that he sends out every month.
And a snake.
And a snake. But you got some swag and you've got some really good cigars coming out of StogieBird.com. And he has special deals all the time. But if you use the code Bourbon and BS, so and it's all one word and is AND, all one word, you will get $5 off your purchase, and that's good for probably another 3 weeks. So StogieBird.com, and you'll get $5 off with Bourbon and BS as a coupon
awesome.
code.
That's
so
awesome.
Thank you to Sam and everyone at StogieBird.com.
We are going to be doing a giveaway here soon, and we're going to be giving away one of the samples that they gave us from last week. So getting into the Russells, I know Brandon said a little bit about it, but what do you think? Initial thoughts, William, on it?
Oh, no. Tastes a lot like a Barney Rubble with a hint of Bam Bam.
What does that mean exactly? For those that
all
don't,
of my tasting
if
is
they don't know
based upon Flintstone chewables. So
don't those all taste the same?
That's a first.
No,
man.
you would think that, wouldn't you?
I do think that.
No, I disagree. Terribly.
Have you always talked like that?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I was just curious. Very distinct accent.
What? It's with gusto. I speak with gusto from the diaphragm. Yes.
That's good.
Is
He
that
has
Old and
demonstrated
ancient.
my issues with people describing their flavors, though.
that's Viking?
It's all subjective nonsense.
Yeah. Well, it's not nonsense.
To a point.
It doesn't mean it's nonsense.
To a point.
It means something to others.
So
Brandon.
what does Bam Bam taste like?
Fiery, like
Like
energetic,
fire. Okay. So now I get it.
powerful.
Okay.
Can that be a taste?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is.
Yeah.
And this is
And
how
Barney Rubble is relaxed. You know, he takes it from Fred every day.
I kind of feel like he's a little bit of like a pussy a little bit, you know?
Well, I wouldn't say that.
No?
He's an encourager. He's a mindful
enabler?
soul.
I think he's an enabler.
Just
I
buying his
think he
time.
brings Fred down to a level which everyone can enjoy.
I think Betty, I mean...
Well,
she's
we
a
all
fox.
know about Betty.
That's it.
Now, we don't.
That's talk about fire there.
Talk about, starting trouble.
All right.
Okay.
Give us a little bit of history on that.
Little history on the Russell's tenure. It's coming out of Wild Turkey.
Michelle says, ask Pebbles.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome.
That's going to be all night.
So over 150 years of spirits heritage. Austin Nichols began operations in 1855 as a wholesale grocer, specializing in sales, teas, coffees, and whiskey and liquor, obviously.
Yeah.
It's always been on what is known as the Wild Turkey Hill, or, now is known as Wild Turkey Hill in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. If you haven't been, it's awesome. It's a great site, depending on which way you come in. If you come from, I believe, the west, you will come across the bridge and actually see a big sign that says this is the house that Jimmy built, which Jimmy Russell is the reason of why this bourbon came to be. So in 1869, the Rippey family founded the distillery in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and then Austin Nichols purchased the distillery in 1971. Of cool fact is that in the 1940s, after a distillery executive brought a private supply of 101 proof bourbon along with him for a wild turkey hunting trip with friends. They liked it so much that the next year they asked him to bring along some of that wild turkey bourbon. And that's how the name kind of began after Austin Nichols. Yeah. And it used to be known as Austin Nichols. And then, it's Wild Turkey now. But as we all know, Steve, I, and Dustin were lucky enough to meet Eddie Russell, which is the son of Jimmy Russell. And they're both kind of leaving this legacy behind with Wild Turkey. They're both still there, but there's 3 generations, almost 4, they're working now.
But Eddie is the main distiller, right? Master distiller. Yeah.
Now,
okay.
I mean, they're both master distillers in their own right, but
more active, I guess.
Yeah, more active. Little bit of information on Jimmy itself. From the first position of the distillery, sweeping floors, he reached the apex of his career as master distiller in the 1960s.
Wow.
So he's been there quite a while. It's pretty awesome, and he's pretty much known as the godfather of bourbon nowadays. And there's only a few of them left anymore.
Really?
So, I mean, Booker's gone, Elmer T. Lee's gone, and Fred No, Booker's son, and then you have Jimmy. So it's kind of...
A lot of family heritage there, which I love.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of his wisdom was put behind this whiskey. What I like about it is the fact that Wild Turkey, mainly for their main products, unless it's a rye, they use the same mash bill. So everything's the same mash bill, just different proofs, different ages. That's it. So that's kind of where I gravitate towards Wild Turkey a little bit, because it's the same stuff, but yet it all tastes different. And it kind of drives me to my passion with bourbon itself, because it's, like I said, it's all the same mash bill, it's all the same, but then it tastes different with different proofs and how different it can be just by little tweaks. So,
well, and also with where it's at in the rick house and how long you age it, obviously.
Everything.
That was one of the things that Eddie said a lot, that when he kind of, I don't want to say took control, but became the more active master distiller, if I recall, when we met him, is that he's starting to kind of branch out from some of the staples, right? And do a little bit different proof on some of them and different ages and all that stuff. And I love the story, because he said that basically his dad, Jimmy, said, you're ruining it. You know, like a dad would say. Like, no, I don't think that's good, but good luck. Yeah. And they're great. Yeah. They're all great.
It's just cool because they pay tribute to a lot of different memories and a lot of different history behind just the setting of the distillery itself. Like the fact that, Austin Nichols and 101 proof being like from the main heritage of the place itself. And then now you have Russell's and different things like that. So, and then Eddie Russell came out with Master's Keep selections and stuff like that, and that's what put him on the mark. So it's pretty interesting stuff. It's interesting to hear Brandon say that how smooth it is. I mean, it is 90 proof, but most people, even us, were known to say that Wild Turkey's pretty. It's got a heavy spice note. It's got a little bit of heat.
I think they do.
A lot of oak, a lot of vanilla, those classic bourbon characteristic notes that I think that if anyone wants to try like a classic bourbon, I think Russell's or any Wild Turkey product would be the way to go.
I mean, you bring around the Wild Turkey 101 you used to.
Yeah.
And then the Rare Breed, which I walk by all the time, and I always want to grab a bottle, but I mean, it's just so good.
Yeah, it is.
But this is one where I was surprised that we hadn't had it on the podcast yet, because this is one of mine. My favorite bottles around $30. So like in Ohio, it's $31.99 on the shelf, and I mean, I'm telling you, this is it. You can't. I don't think you can go wrong with it. It does. You said smooth, Brandon, but I mean, I agree with Jake. It has more of like that warm spice. It's got a little bit, not much heat, but it still has that smoothness. I mean, it's not harsh. There's no real burn going down or anything like that. I think it's excellent.
It's just got a heavy oak note, which is great.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
What's the story, if you remember, that why this? Didn't he do this for like a gathering, the Russells? Do you remember that story? It was like a gift. They had a barrel or whatever, and they did it, and it was not something they were marketing. And there was something like some get-together, to my recollection.
For Jimmy's birthday.
Jimmy's birthday.
Special limited release.
Yeah.
For his birthday, and then we're going to put it into production.
Yeah, it was so good that they were like, we gotta do this. Yeah.
So
that
it was
was
a
the cool
special
story.
release given to a group.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
now it's
they-
branched off. Obviously, Russell's Single Barrel. And
Yeah.
then you've got the Russell's Rye 6-year, which is excellent. And the Single Barrel
There's
Rye,
single
which is
barrel
excellent.
rye. Yeah, there's a bunch of different expressions.
I want to say right now we've got people kind of chiming in. One of the things, what people are smoking, we've got Cavalier with Nate. We've got someone smoking, Billy smoking an Asylum Ogre 80 by 8 Barber Pole. So he's going to be, if he just started, he's going to be with us the whole night possibly, which is great. Dennis Weatherspoon's got a Cohiba Blue tonight. So again, you guys don't always have to smoke what we're smoking, but I do encourage you to try it based off of what we say about it. We've got some people drinking everything from that wild turkey that we mentioned to White Claws right now. So, and chocolate milk.
There's a White Claw shortage right
That
now.
White Claw was going around the hog roast all weekend.
Was it?
I never heard of it before in my life.
Do you drink a lot of that hard seltzer?
I didn't do it at all.
Not at all. Not at all. I do want to see if we can get some more information as well from what's the name here? So Eric, if you're still listening, I commented on it, but he says if you come to visit Wild Turkey, stay with us, mention the podcast, and get 15% off. So we're going to try to get some more information on that. So if you're going down to, if they've got an Airbnb or they've got something like that.
That's awesome.
But, yeah, I mean, if you can send us that information, we'd love to get that out there, get some people staying there. And if you honor that for all the listeners, which I can just kind of put you on blast there.
Hell, I'll be down.
15% off. Jake will be your first customer
Yeah.
at least. So I appreciate that. A lot of love from the obvious, Bourbon and BS podcast community,
Yeah,
which is
for sure.
awesome.
Thank you
Jim
very
Johnson's
much.
drinking Stag Junior.
That's awesome. That's a potent one, too.
Yeah.
But I hope that everyone enjoys it. Thank you, Steve, for grabbing it.
Yeah.
It's always a good one. I do love the 10, and for $30 you can't really beat it. It's a 10-year bourbon for $30.
Yeah.
But I really do think that the single barrel at like 110 proof is phenomenal.
It is, and I think it's 40.
But it's pricey. It's 55.
55, around $50, but I think it is good. I mean, depending on which, obviously, when you get it and what barrel it's coming out of and all that good stuff. But, for this being, 90 proof and they, 10 years, right? I mean, that's a minimum.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you have a 10-year minimum bourbon and it's only $30.
And what's great about it is it's like it's heavily prevalent, and state to state it really doesn't move much on the price.
No,
It
doesn't
pretty much
seem to. Yeah.
it pretty much stays where it's at, which
Yeah.
is pretty awesome. You have people that go bourbon crazy and they like try to find all these rare things, but there's ones like these that are staring you right in the face.
Yeah, and it says it, I mean, right there on there that, what you were kind of going over, Jimmy and his son Eddie hand-select the barrels after at least 10 years of aging. And they even say on there a balance of rich, spicy vanilla flavors, which I would absolutely agree with. Do you get any of that?
That would be a Wilma.
That'd be a Wilma? Mm-hmm. Which part?
The vanilla.
The vanilla is Wilma.
Yeah.
I get
I
that.
know it's weird.
No, I actually get that one, I think.
It's awesome.
Brandon?
Wake up.
Sounds good.
Wake
I
up.
guess.
Speechless. You just like tasting it.
Yeah.
Nah, just drink it, right?
Just drink it. Just drink it, smoke it, or eat it.
He's more of a Jetsons man. They never made a vitamin that I can recall.
Are you saying that the Flintstones make their own vitamins?
I assume that.
Or he judges people's successes by whether they have vitamins or not.
Yeah, that makes
That
sense.
is also correct. Waiting for the BS vitamins to hit the store.
I got one right here.
There it is.
BS Silver. Do whatever you want, man. Do whatever you want.
Get you
Do
through the
it.
day.
What do you think about this cigar with it, though, Steve?
I like this cigar with it. Again, this is one of my, I don't know, I'd say in the last several years, this is one of my favorite cigars, the Laranja.
Absolutely. Back you up there. Always one in the box.
Well, that's one of the reasons I picked it tonight is because it's a great cigar. We haven't had it. We haven't featured it on the podcast. And William, this is one. I know Brandon likes it as well. But William, when he comes into the shop or whatever, wherever he's getting cigars, he's usually grabbing a Laranja as one of
Absolutely.
them.
Always.
He always grabs one Laranja Robusto
Yes.
and 3 ounces of William the Red.
And 2 other cigars.
And BS normally.
And BS.
Yes.
Especially the gold when we have
Yes.
it. So we got to get that back in the
Yeah.
mix for you.
Yep. BS Laranja. Third one I let you all choose.
That's
like
right.
to have an adventure. I have to get my junior tobacco there, and yeah.
Call
That's
William the Red Tobacco your junior.
Well, yeah.
A little bit of you in there.
A little bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone should have a little bit of red in them. Wait, that's water.
Cheers the other one. Yeah, there you go. Flawless. Absolutely flawless. As you
For our
cheers.
listeners, he has red hair, just for...
The beard.
Very epic beard, too. You got to check out the social media to see that, I guess. If you're listening on the
levels,
audio.
the links, it's like, flooding. Where's the beard at? Flood levels.
And what's your necklace? Tell us about your necklace.
Was told I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Who told you that?
A gypsy that gave it to me.
Is it Karst?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
If he talks about it, it might
Oh, okay.
No, Amazon.
be. That was the gypsy's name?
Jeff Bezos.
Again, I'm not allowed to talk about the gypsy.
Good Lord.
That's good.
What's Eric saying?
Eric's saying-
Amazon. Yep.
Oh, Amazon.
Oh.
All right.
I'm sorry, yes.
So Eric, who had mentioned the 15% off, for those of you listening on audio and video as well, the Airbnb home, he has a bunch of them. Just follow the link. So we'll have to get that link and share it a bit. But he also hosts several barrel pick clubs throughout the year, and the units have a great deck in the back to have a smoke and bourbon to discuss the pick, and can host groups of 16 down to 4 people. So that seems like a great resource. And
Does he pay for the pick?
No, I think what he's saying there is that if you have a group going down for a pick, that you're going to get it. You're hoping that he's going to buy your pick for staying at his house.
Yeah.
No, maybe.
It's not free.
I mean, we
You
are
should
the
ask.
Bourbon and BS podcast. I'm just saying.
15%
I'm
off
sorry,
the
Eric.
stay. That would be very cool.
See, now we're talking.
He says he goes along, so he.
Okay. Yeah.
You pay. He goes
Okay.
along sometimes, so that's
Okay.
excellent.
Yeah. Very nice.
But no, what do you think, Jake, about the pairing here?
It's interesting. I think that I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to do because we have like you say this is a medium, right? Medium body cigar.
I think it's a medium body. Yeah.
I've always thought that Laranja was like a little lighter side of medium. So I think that unfortunately with this, it is a great cigar, but unfortunately with the not the potency, but the oakiness and I do think that the Russell's has a spice note to it, and I think it coats the tongue.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether I need to switch the kind of the way I do things, where instead of having a sip and then smoking, I need to have
Stick with the cigar for a little bit. Yeah. Are you
and then go
retrohaling
back.
this?
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you listening, retrohale is basically taking the smoke from the mouth and actually pushing it through the nasal cavity. Not
can do it
necessarily
now.
inhaling. Huh?
I can do it now.
You can do it now. Brandon, do you do that?
No, I got something wrong with one of my nostrils. It's like 90% closed.
A
What
deviated
about the other
septum.
one? Good one.
Well, no, whenever I try to do that, it feels like I got maced or something, and it just ruins everything. So I don't.
Little bit of-
I don't
little
try
pepper.
anymore. Maybe I'll get the surgery, and then after that,
Yeah.
Start
Look
that.
into that.
giving it a shot. I don't know.
Well, I don't
If any
know.
doctors out there get 15% off that surgery.
Ask for more. Start higher. Start higher.
Ask Eric if he knows anyone.
Yeah, Brandon, what do you think of the Laranja, though? I mean, if
I
you
like
can't
it.
retrohale it, I mean, that's a different conversation. I think that's very, very pertinent to people listening because not everyone can do that.
I don't know how helpful I'm going to be despite that connection,
You're
but
very helpful.
Laranja's in my same list as like with the BS Gold, the Tatuajes, the stuff that I would go back to over and over again because it's just, in my mind, that's what a cigar should taste like.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
in that same genre. And then I'd say something similar about the whiskey, too. I mean, the whiskey is right in that wheelhouse where my mind thinks whiskey should be. So
Yeah.
the two together, I think they go well together.
Yeah.
Although I do agree with Jake, the whiskey does seem to coat your tongue a little bit, maybe
It masks the flavor
mask
of
the
the cigar a
flavor of
little
the cigar
bit.
a bit.
Unfortunately,
I agree
but
with that. But, mix up your drinking and your water and your smoking, maybe you can deal with that.
I think this would be a good pairing for someone that like is just looking to have just a good night, like
Oh, yeah.
just a relaxful night
Yeah.
that doesn't really smoke cigars, that doesn't really drink whiskey a lot, but is looking to try something that maybe we suggest or anything. And you have like what's the Toro at the tender box? So like 10, 11?
It's a little bit more than that. One want to say this would be around $12-13.
Okay, so you got $12-13 cigar, and then you got a $30 bottle of whiskey, and you can have a relaxful evening, I think.
Yeah.
William, what do you think of this? You like the cigar, obviously,
Yes,
but when you talk about the pairing, what do you think?
Yeah. It's good.
Jesus Christ.
Any Flintstones characters?
Pretend someone's listening to the audio and they can't see your wink and a smile.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah, it pairs very lovely, like a Fred and Barney bowling night.
This really is going to go on all night.
Yeah.
It's a good night, right? I mean, that's pretty
I
classic.
lost my taste, the majority of my taste due to a Tide Pod challenge with a
Jesus
millennial.
Christ.
I lost, obviously, but I had to take up so there it is.
Well, that was good.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you like it.
Yeah.
You like it, but you can't taste it because of Tide Pods.
It's good.
There you go.
It's very good. Another wink, folks. And
I would say the Laranja. So this is coming from Espinosa, Eric Espinosa, who actually is going to be on the podcast on October 9th, which will be kind of a special Whiskey Wednesday.
super excited.
Yeah, I am too. And
I
then
get to take
also,
off work.
You get to take off of work, which is excellent. And then also he's going to be in the Columbus area a second night on the 10th at our prime rib dinner at Tinderbox at Easton. So we are already selling tickets to that. If you're in the area, you're in Ohio, you want to come see him, he will be at our neighbor, which is Fido Irish Pub and Restaurant. We're going to do a special prime rib dinner, and he's also going to be featuring 2 cigars and doing a Q&A and all that good stuff. We love Eric, so appreciate that. Looking forward to that podcast. The Laranja, though, comes from the name and the reason that... So this band, I really love this band on there.
I like the gold.
This was a great design. The gold with the orange and white. The orange is basically coming from... The name of the Laranja is Portuguese for orange. And the reason he named it that is because he basically, when he saw the tobacco, he saw this kind of orange hue to the tobacco leaf itself, the wrapper leaf. And so when he utilized that tobacco, which was not being utilized by many companies at the time, he named it Laranja for that reason. He just loved the aroma of the tobacco itself. And I think they blended it really well. I mean, you say it's got Nicaraguan filler and binder, and Jake, you say it's on the lighter side of medium. I think that this has, through the filler, I mean, you've got enough strength there that I would put it in the medium as well.
Yeah.
But definitely I'd say straight medium.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I get like kind of like the lighter woodsy type of flavor.
Like a cedary almost?
A little bit, but lighter than that. I don't
Okay.
know. I can't really place that, but I mean, it's definitely a nice flavor, and even through the retrohale, I get a little bit of spice from it, not a whole lot of pepper from it, but it's like a more of a spice. And then even though Eric himself doesn't really agree with it, I get, and maybe it's the pairing, I get a little bit of kind of lingering like salty sweetness on the
Yeah.
front of my tongue
Yeah.
when I'm smoking it.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that as kind of a finish. And that's Nate back there, who doesn't have a mic since we're using all the mics tonight on the actual show here on the camera, but with the guests. That was the one thing when it was getting, actually, this was a top 25 cigar and cigar aficionado a couple years back, and even they put it in there. And then people are saying to Eric when they meet him, they're saying, he's saying like they're telling him, I love it that it's citrusy and it's got a lot of sweetness to it. And Eric himself, I mean, he's basically saying to me when we were down there, he's saying, I don't get it, but I mean everyone tastes things differently. But his attitude is, if that's what you get out of it and you really enjoy it, then
Buy my cigar.
buy more. I mean, and I get a little bit of sweetness. I don't get the floral or citrus type of a flavor from it, but I mean, if that's what you're getting from it, I mean, that's better on you. I mean, that sounds really good.
It's definitely a just huge cedar note for me.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying with the woodsy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like the combination together for sure.
I do get that black. Would you say like white pepper then? Like black pepper and sea salt.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Nate says a steak.
And I think this does stand up to the whiskey. I'm sorry. I mean, you guys are saying it doesn't. I think the more I smoke
think it
this,
does.
Yeah,
It's
I
just-
never
There
given
is a
up.
bit of and maybe it's with any whiskey, a bit of the coat in the tongue and
And yeah.
deaden it off a little bit. But
I made it
you can
clear
still
with my
taste
Fred
it.
and Barney reference that it was pairing well.
no, absolutely, it's a great pairing as Fred and Barney are. I just think the more you smoke the cigar between drinks of the whiskey, I think you're going to get a little bit more of the cigar. It's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
stand on its own. We started drinking the
agreed.
whiskey, not smoking as much, set down the cigar like you have, Jake. But if you have a couple sips of the whiskey, then I think it kind of goes back and forth, and I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I like it when a cigar, and if you're going to be sitting down, it's not necessarily. I think they bring things out of each other, but it's something that can kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, where if you have you set your glass down for a little bit, and you're smoking the cigar, you're talking, you're thinking, or whatever it is, and relaxing, and then you go back to the whiskey. You can taste the whiskey.
Yeah.
And then you go back to the cigar, and you can taste the cigar. I mean, I think that's where I say it kind of stands up on, as far as together.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I mean, what I like about it is like if you're sitting there and just smoking a cigar and having like a nice pour or something, I think that if you do it the way that Steve explained it, then you stop thinking about it, and then you pick up different nuances of each, and I think that makes for a better experience. Because I noticed myself when we were just getting into this is that I would like try something, and I was really trying to figure everything out within like the first few minutes, but obviously like with a cigar you can't do that, or with the whiskey you gotta take it for what it is at face value, and then enjoy the experience and see if you get different nuances from it.
Well, Nate says this cigar goes better with a 10-year than it would with 2 Ohio single barrel picks, and I can definitely see that because I think the barrel picks, the 2 Ohio ones or any single barrel, but even like Jake, you were mentioning the 110, right?
Yeah, the
normal
single barrel. Yeah.
Russells.
Yeah.
It definitely packs more of a punch. It's got more heat to it, which it may overpower that.
It's a
Laranja.
flavor bomb. It really is a flavor bomb, but good pairing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like it. I mean, he did several sizes of this, and then also did a box press. What he called a Caixa, which a few years back when we were down there, he brought that out, and they just had released it, and we hadn't even gotten our shipment. And he really, I know, likes that Caixa, which is a longer, skinnier box press cigar. Slight tweak on the blend to make it that size, and it definitely is flavorful.
What's the Caixa mean?
I don't know what the translation for
Really?
Caixa is. No.
Okay.
No.
A lot of people say
Caixa.
Yeah.
XA.
Yeah, a lot of people say
Caixa.
Caixa or Caixa.
He called it Caixa, so
Yeah, I know. That's what
I go
said.
with him.
I think it means flourishing orange grove.
With the Flintstones.
That would be that saber cat they had. I can't remember its name if it even had one.
Are you like driving the car like with your feet, or is there a motor on it?
That's how he does the poster route.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
With your feet.
You have to. Things are incredibly old. Please go out and buy a book of stamps, everyone. Right now, I'm gonna. Sorry, I don't want to.
Go ahead, plug the post office. You know,
We need new vehicles, please. For the love of God, just one book for everyone.
One
We'll
book
be
of
back.
stamps.
Yeah.
Do they get 10% off?
Who? No, all of that comes to us.
No discount.
Damn it.
No, go into your local post office and say Bourbon and BS and see what they
Podcast.
do.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Don't use my name, please.
All right.
Wow.
Interesting.
I don't know. I like the pairing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
You think at this time we should
Well, you want to kind of move into it, use the
Yeah.
momentum as you so called it.
I mean, I mean, it's positive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That is correct.
Very baritone
Yeah.
from the stomach.
Diaphragm.
Is that
From
positive?
diaphragm.
Is that positive, you think?
It could be. It's a sign of alpha leadership.
You're getting taller as you say that.
That's right.
Bigger chest. Puff out.
That's right.
All right.
I took a Fred, that's why,
right.
before I podcast.
You what?
I took a Fred before the podcast.
Took a Fred. All right, we're saving it on the audio here. So for those of you listening, yeah. So I hope you guys have learned so far on the video a lot about the cigar and the whiskey, and also Flintstone vitamins.
William's a character.
Do you take Flintstone vitamins?
10 million strong and growing. That was an old commercial.
I remember it.
All right.
Do you take Flintstones?
No.
No, just a spokesperson.
I take a more advanced version of that right now.
Central Silver.
One a day men's?
Something like that.
Meth.
A little less.
A little. Adderall?
All right.
Bingo.
There it is. Alrighty.
As prescribed by my doctor.
You ready, Nate? All right.
named Billy in the alley there. My doctor.
Who was also the gypsy.
I know.
So positive momentum, Steve. We're diving into the subject tonight
We're
after the
diving
whiskey and the
into it.
cigars.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I want to bring up William, because one of the things that I know you and I talked about, Jake, and I think it's a good. We had Eric Goldhaber recently, and I think one of the things that I had in my notes, and I'll just dive right into it with William.
Yeah.
The weight loss and physical fitness, nutrition, and everything else. I mean, William, if you're willing to share, I know, I looked at it, and it's something that where you have, kind of this start and stops type thing, and you're talking about the positive momentum, and I think a lot of people will struggle with that at times, where you're making kind of steps forward, little steps at first, and then sometimes you get frustrated, you don't see the big steps yet, and then other times you're going to see, you're actually pretty comfortable, you're doing it for a while, and you've seen the progress, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, you drop off, and then you have to build yourself back up.
You're absolutely correct. And I'm currently in a backslide right now, somewhat of a backslide of gaining some weight back.
Why
it's
is
a
that?
lifelong. It's a lifelong commitment.
is it eating? Is it just eating, or is it working out too?
Working out? I wasn't in the beginning. I was very into it. I was very going to the gym regularly. Had a very good trainer, very well educated trainer helping me, Shane. And so I was into it. I was a bit positive. I was in the right mindset.
When did you start that?
About 2.5 years ago.
Okay, and where were you at that point, health-wise, weight-wise?
I was already a year into my fasting.
So you had started
program.
on your own as far as the diet and nutrition and your
Correct.
eating habits.
Yeah, I lost about 60 pounds just from the fasting.
Now,
And
explain the
how
fasting.
long?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
How long?
That took about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a healthy
Very
60
much
pounds.
so, and I'm still currently doing it. Not this week; I was on vacation. So, one of my rules was vacations are permissible. Enjoy it, take it, and then just
I like
go
that.
back.
How hard is it though to get back on the horse?
Not hard. Not
Really?
Again, I've been doing this for 3 years now, 3+ years. I just commit to 2 days.
So what was your starting weight then?
Back then, that was about 345. My highest was 367. But
Okay.
Back when I started, it was
Your
about
highest was what?
367, and that's what the doctor has on the charts there.
Wow.
So
Now you're down to what?
went down to 250. Now I'm
Jesus.
about 270. So I gained about 20 back.
So you're over 100 pounds.
What's that?
Less. Like you dropped over
I
100
dropped
pounds.
over 100.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. And recently working out, joining me and Steve.
Lifetime?
Yeah, we go to the same gym.
Yeah.
He helped me along when I had to drop my trainer, not for anything but financial reasons. 2.5 years, kind of need some money back. It's
costly.
Oh yeah, but I don't regret it. It's 2.5 years of an educator, learning how to do things properly.
Yeah.
Muscle groups, things of that nature.
Muscle to mind connection
Oh,
and stuff like that.
absolutely. So do not regret it one bit. Locked in the head, but it's nice to work out with someone. It's nice to have an accountability buddy, to meet up with. Steve's obviously very, knowledged in what he does, and he showed me some stuff that I hadn't learned.
There's a camaraderie there.
Very much so, very much so. The same willing, I'm trying to get on the focus bandwagon.
Yeah. Focusing. Yeah.
That's important. That's help keep your mindset.
Well, and I can see that, and that's what I want to talk about a bit about that with you, Will, and Brandon as well. With I mean, as far as your career, and your personal lifestyle and how it's changed over the last 10 years. I mean, you've talked about it a bit on the podcast before, but it's one of those things when I look at Jake came up with the positive momentum topic, and I like it a lot. But that's what I want to know from all of you guys is. Because when you're talking about the way you dipped off, and Jake was surprised, I am too, about how you said it was easy to get back on it, because it's not for a lot of people, because you're taking those steps and everything else.
Definitely
and
isn't for me.
You dip back off. Jake, you've talked about it when it comes to health, and we're going to talk about other things other than health. But you've talked about the fact that when you went through all the way through football, I mean, you had it regimented for you in a sense. I mean, you obviously did the work, you had the will and the want to do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as like dipping off and then coming back on, I mean, I find that's the constant struggle for me. It's not necessarily staying with it or anything else. It's just for me, it is more of a smaller time frame as far as anything with that. When you're making progress, whether it be with the health and the nutrition and the working out and everything else, but I think that's such an easy grasp as far as how on a daily basis, it's like even with work, it's you don't want to go in that day. You know what I mean? You just don't feel. You'd rather just sleep in. You'd rather do anything else other than go to work. But I mean, I think that's my constant struggle as far as when things are going well. Or Brandon, you chimed in when we were talking about the podcast prior to tonight. About the negative side of it. As a subtopic. But I mean, how do you handle those types of on and off? But I think in a more smaller cycle, as opposed to a year or 2 year period.
I think, part of it, at least in the short term, that I've noticed with myself, and I think with other people, whether it's family or friends or whoever else, that the scheduling matters, because I feel like when people find something new or they find some, whether it's an idea or it's a lifestyle or it's a workout regimen or it's a sport or it's a person, they allow it to overtake their life, overtake their time. And there's a certain burnout that happens with that where, like if somebody's with New Year's rolling around,
yeah.
I'm going to get up every morning, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour, 5 days a week, and I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year, blah, blah, blah. And you do that for a week and you're just toasted because you're not used to it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if people started, and myself included, I think if anybody started a new endeavor with a little more reasonable schedule behind it, not this is my new thing, this is what I'm all about, and this is going to be 70% of my personality, then you can ease it into who you actually are. Because everybody's coming, everybody wants to better themselves. Everybody wants to. Everybody has certain deficiencies that they either recognize or just feel that are there, whether they are or not. Everybody comes to a point where they know they could be better. They're a little unhappy with themselves or whatever. And I think it's a lot of times the failure comes from the attempt not to recognize who you actually are and work with that.
Well, they feel an obligation to be every day.
Everything. Yeah. They want to change 180 who they are because they think they would be a better person or people would like them better or they'd get a better job or whatever.
Well, that's because of people's reactions about saying, like, well, I'm starting this new fitness journey. And everyone's always like, oh, well, great for you. Like,
well, you're like a little
it's
puppy
positive.
Shaking your tail and shit, and you get all excited.
It is positive. Like, let's not take
it
that
absolutely
lightly,
is.
but I think...
You got to dial it back a bit, I think, though. And I think that's the maintaining momentum in a new endeavor that is positive requires you not only to hit the gas when you're being lazy, but to hit the brakes when you're going a little too fast.
Yeah, I get that. I like that.
So, yeah,
I
can see that.
Yes.
So it's not always about the radical change, is what you're saying.
I think the radical change
not
99% of the time will fail.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you have to take bigger steps or have a bigger goal.
Well, I think you need to have it, but you need to recognize the distance you are from it.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people do. They think, I'm going to, like somebody going from out of shape, like I'm going to look like Steve, and they think they're going to do it in 3 months when they start 100 pounds overweight and never played sports. It's not going to happen. They're going to burn out. But if they were to take a more measured pace, put the work in over a year, 2 years, 3 years, rather than trying to just ramp up and be somebody different right now, then they'll actually achieve that goal.
Yeah.
Well, I like what William said when and again, this is a really, in my opinion, a really easy kind of example to follow. Is you had said you changed when you say fasting, but I mean just changing the way you eat. So again, you're actually at that point. To your point, Brandon, is you're changing some fundamentals first.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not just I'm going to go to the gym or I'm going I'm going to apply for a new job, or I'm going to go to school, and then, you know, in 5 years, then I'll have the house, the cars, the, you know what I mean, the girlfriend, or the, you know, whatever it might be. I mean, it's you're changing the core side of it first by doing that. And then, like that, you develop that habit, and all of a sudden you start seeing some changes, not only, you know, physically, but also mentally and emotionally, and you're trying to start from the inside.
Very much so. It definitely comes in, and everyone, and you, the more support you have from your friends and those who are wanting you to, you know, the more they oh my gosh, you look so good, you know, you're doing well. That kind of feeds into your positive, of course. And just saying that alone, having friends that will back you up, and knowing their interests in you, or, you know, are positive, and go get it, Will, go get it. You know, you're looking great. You know, you'll have some people in your life that'll, you go, oh, that's not for you, or you should stop doing that.
Or you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, or you're doing it wrong, and they'll just give you 20 minutes of what I should be doing, even though I've lost some weight, you know.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, when you look at that, when people like you said, oh, I'm fasting, and you take full days of fasting, correct?
I'll have about 300 calories.
Okay,
so it's from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. is
okay.
Yeah, full 12 hours.
Okay.
How often do you do that?
Twice a week.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that. I remember when I lost a lot of weight, and William, you were around for it. Brandon, you knew me better then, but when I lost a lot of weight 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and you know, one of my routine things was to go to Subway, and I'd eat half of a foot long. So I'd eat
the Jared diet.
I was yeah. That's the only good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I basically did the Subway thing. I'd eat, you know, chicken breast sub, half of it, and then eat the other half in 4 hours later or so, and then I'd probably have like mostly protein in the evening. And I would always get that, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, why are you eating that way? You know, all that stuff, that age-old saying where it's like, first they're going to ask you why you're doing it, and then they're going to ask you how you did it. And one of the things that I got a lot of times from people that were typically not in good shape and not in good health is, you know, Subway's not really that good for you.
It's the Kevin James of the world.
The Kevin James.
You know what you got to do.
Yeah, you know what you got to do is this, and you're looking across the table at him, and you're talking to him, and you're just like, you're asking me how I'm doing this, and then when I told you, and it's not like I'm just like, oh, I'm not eating at all, or I'm, you know, bulimic, or, you know, something like that. You know, it's like, no, I'm eating this way, and I'm seeing the results, and I feel really good, and they just want it, like, it's like a hater type thing.
Right.
So when you talk about like the positive momentum, you hit a very good point. And we can go back to the previous ones, but it's like, surround yourself with people that are like-minded.
Absolutely.
And positive.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm not saying a bunch of yes men or anything like that.
No,
I'm saying
not
it's
at
more
all.
like having people that truly care about you and are open-minded, but also in that positive state of mind. Because the people that, you know, again, the people that I was talking to back then they were clearly not happy with their body image.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's that old like attracts like.
Yeah.
So you're a positive person, and you happen to be hanging around with a lot of people who are down or depressed, and they just claw at you. They just want you down to their level, not consciously, but they just want you, you know.
The negative energy
yes,
they have.
and I just, life is so much more pleasant when, you know, you filter them, you know, distance without getting rid of, but definitely hang out with the friends that uplift you. And everyone always comments about me hanging around Fido and the Tinderbox in that area, but I find tremendous amount of positive people, you know, just great people that will.
Are they drinking?
A little of that, I think. You know, there might be a little bit of that, but they're good. They're good drinkers.
I'm just messing with
They're not the down, depressed kind.
Right.
No, but no, I found a really good connection with that area. Really, really, really good, loving connection with that area. And I tell all my friends who talk about, I'm like, oh, you should come. You should see it for yourself. It's a great place, those two places. It's
a community.
Very much so, and a positive one.
Yeah.
And something I look forward to going to all the time. Something I think about when I'm not there. And again, good support. And I have a lot of people in my life, and a lot of love for all of them.
Well, it goes both ways, right? You know,
yes.
If you want to be surrounding yourself with good people, you have to reciprocate that, in my opinion. You know, too often, you know...
It's like rescuing a drowning dog, you know?
Yeah.
Or a person, you know. you be careful when you get there, because they might pull you down, But if they know what to do, they're going to, help the rescue, So
Are you talking about a sad person?
I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Someone down someone that, again, when you ask them how they are, and they'll give you a not well, life sucks, and then you try to give them some light and some wisdom, some humorous anecdote, and you don't understand where I'm coming from, and then it gets into this ball of poor me, woe is me, and again, each individual, each one of us has a certain amount of energy to give off, because we need some for ourselves.
Yeah.
So you can't deplete one.
I will say
I like
that
that point. Sorry, Jake. I really think that's a good statement. Right.
it is a good statement, but here's what I will say is when you're trying to rescue a drowning dog or a sad person, do you ever ask what's going on? Instead of
Oh, that's part of it.
yeah,
That's part of the whole.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying
No.
because
Yeah.
I react negatively because when someone just wants to start giving me a fucking life lesson
right
about what I'm doing
well,
wrong,
and that's
and it's
another,
this is the reason why you're sad.
that's a key too.
And it's no.
don't make it come off as a what's the word that I'm looking for? Like
Like a sermon or something.
yes. Don't
preach. Yeah,
preaching.
That's
Yes,
all, yeah.
that's an automatic shut off. Like you don't again.
Well, you gotta
and internally, I'm going to say
understand
you
first.
don't know me, or else But come at them with just what you are, what you bring. Hey, how you doing? How's it going? I like to. That's why I like to speak in gusto, and I speak. I like to uplift and.
You make people laugh,
I try exactly, but with doing that, I'll get something back.
right?
Hopefully, positive.
Laughter.
Yes,
Yes.
And spark the whole. Let's get this day going. It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
And engaging in that way, because that's what it's about. You giving off the positive in return, hopefully with a good system, good friends, good rapport, you're getting that right back, and that's what you're looking for in life. You're looking for that channel, that circle,
yeah.
because that's how you win. That's how you're going to make it to another day.
See, when I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking of just I wasn't thinking about the global spectrum, but I was thinking about just your own personal self, where if someone recognizes that things are going good in their life, whether they have things that
You personally realize that, or
Yes.
people around you
you do
realize? Okay.
well
I just want to clarify. Yeah.
well what do you think?
I was I'm listening to you. I just want to know. When you say when things are going well and people
yeah
you yourself recognize
Yeah.
that, or when people around you are like what William was saying earlier about how they're like, oh, you're looking good, you're seeing things are going well.
Yeah.
You're saying
self-recognition of the, if that's a word,
recognition.
recognition of the fact that when either you got the new job that you're wanting, or you got you fell in love, or something special. I think that, or you're in a positive mindset for the most important part, right?
Right.
You feel a shift coming on. If you are a sad person, you feel a shift coming on, and you start thinking about things, you start being creative, you start having better ideas about things. I think that it's good to recognize that, and once you recognize that, then I think it's super hard to keep the foot on the gas when that happens. It's kind of like what Brandon was talking about with a fitness journey, where people either go too hard or they go too little. And I think that finding that balance in between that recognition and then once, I think that when you have a positive momentum, just face value as itself within yourself, I think that's where either people say that they either start going easy on things because things are getting easier, they seem like they're less stressful, there's less problems, and they start backing off because they feel like they don't have to push.
Right.
And then
Get complacent.
Yeah, and then but that's really where you got to capitalize on it.
Capitalize how?
Just by whether either expanding on new ideas, or expanding different routes of things that you have wanted to do but never really did.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think about that stuff with myself, where if I'm having a good week of, well, if I did have a really good week of training and I was feeling good, I wouldn't just like sit back on like Saturday and rest. I'd probably stretch, do stuff like that, and keep the momentum going because I knew I was almost like on a hot streak.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing with business and even relationships where people are in like a good, like if a relationship is in a good standing, like because people do have like bad.
They fluctuate a bit.
Yeah,
sure.
Depending on certain situations and certain outcomes. But when, is this making sense?
It makes
I feel
a lot
like
of
I'm
sense.
kind of losing
it. Makes
it.
sense. I think when you reach that point, like when you're in that zone, you're in the space that you need to be, or you feel like you're headed straight towards where you want to be, there's definitely that tendency to say, all right, well, I made it.
Right.
Like you're not there yet, but you're like, I made it.
I know
I'm
exactly
good.
what you're talking about.
And then you either
I
get
was there earlier in
sidetracked.
this past year, and I think that's where the backslide started.
That's where it starts.
I will tell you this: an active body, a healthy body, leads to a healthy mind. It really does, and that's true. As someone who's gone through it my whole life, bigger my body, the worse my mind. Just the dark thoughts, and the more healthy I got, the more positive I was, the more I gave, the more I felt good.
Yeah.
You get, and that's something that even I, right now need to acknowledge and take a hold of. Get back in that gym. Remember how I felt, because I felt incredible. I felt victorious. I felt, you feel like you can help anyone.
And now you know how good you could feel.
Yeah, I have
Again.
the comparisons. When at my peak at 250, muscles are coming in. I felt incredible. I felt like a superhero. I felt amazing, and gave. Tried to give, but that little backslide, that little, you get up in the morning and go, I don't know if I'm going to go. Sleeping in kind of feels good today.
Yeah.
And that just snowballed.
That wipes me. When I do that, I'll allow myself to do that, and then it wrecks me. It throws me off. And
the one thing you do that helps share the positive is when you post that you're in the gym and you're focusing, because that does say yes. I'm sorry, Steve Crane. Gosh, I don't have this report yet down.
No, you'll get
you see that and you're like, he did it. He got out of bed, and you can look at that and say, good for him. Yay. But think about it. He battled it, won, and he's sharing that. And that did spread to me, looking at it, going, God, he went in there, he did it. He's feeling good. He's going to come out of that gym feeling good. That's what I miss. And
that's honestly something that when I first started doing it, it was people that kind of made fun of it.
Right. Your
people
friends
were doing the check-ins and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, yeah,
your friends are going to do
you're
that,
checking
right?
At the gym. If you don't check in or you don't take a selfie, but I don't take selfies at the gym, but it's like if you check in at the gym, you're just good for you.
You think it's you could come. It could come across as an ego.
And I actually was holding myself accountable by that, like in the social media realm, and it was at first people were like kind of joking about the whole focus thing, and then it was like what you just said. I started hearing it from random people, but it was always in person. It typically wasn't. I've heard it more recently. And I get the Facebook memories from like 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I started doing that. And it was something that even more recently, some people were reaching out like, hey, you don't know what that means. And I'm like, well, it used to be people in person would start talking to me about that. I do want to bring up here, and before I build off of that, John Belly, who has been supporting the podcast through the Facebook feed for a while, talking about this. I think it's a really cool story. I'd love to hear more about it. But he lost 130 pounds about 6 years ago, too. Had the gastric sleeve, kept most off, and positivity is all you need to be rid of the a-holes in your life. Appreciate the clean language there, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, then he said, don't put off what you can do today. Tomorrow isn't promised. I try to live by this. And he says he believes that he added 10 years to his life and has no regrets from that, because that's an aggressive procedure.
Yeah.
But I think that's with all of this stuff, when I'm listening to you guys, when Jake, you kind of got to that point when things are going well and you have that self-reflection. For me, the thing that I have to remind myself, and this is something that I do when I'm on to your point, Will, like when I'm checking in at the gym, when I'm trying to stay focused in every aspect of my life, whether it be physical fitness, nutrition, eating, career-wise, building this podcast with Jake, is when Brandon was talking about, you hit a goal, like, kind of now what? I feel like that's kind of where you were at with that, is that when you are doing things and you're taking those steps and you're having that momentum and it turns into positive momentum, is that what really is fascinating to me and what I've noticed with certain parts of my life when things are going well consistently is that things start to compound. They start, they start building off of it. So it's not necessarily exponentially, but I mean, it's a snowball. Yeah, exactly. Positive momentum. It's like gas pedal down, and Nate kind of whispered, since he doesn't have a mic. He says snowball effect, and that's exactly it. Is that snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and at first it's real small, and then it kind of gets a little bit bigger, and then all of a sudden each step is bigger. The rewards are bigger. You know what I mean? It's something that if you stay after it, you use that positive momentum in the gym, in your career, and you brought up relationships. When things are going well in a relationship, at your job, and you don't rest on your laurels, you actually keep that pedal down, and all of a sudden that next step is actually a little bit quicker sometimes, and it's bigger.
Because your mind thinks it's easier.
Well, it does.
There's nothing holding you down anymore.
Whether it be your investments in your time and your money, no matter what it is, once things are going well, you build off of all of that. And all of that history, the track record you have at that point, I'm of the opinion that actually builds things faster. Your base and your core and all of that base in front of you and underneath you has actually pushed you harder because of what you've done. You're not starting from scratch. You're not doing that. So when you fall off on the fitness thing, Will, it's like you say, it's not hard to get in again, but you've lost that base. You've crumbled away. So keeping that as a strong base and keep building on that.
And it's a pattern with me.
Momentum.
This is the 5th incarnation of weight loss out of the 22 years, about 32 years of being overweight. This is about the 5th time I've done it. And I'll do it, and I get there. I'm going, and then it fizzles.
So do you recognize what's the initial negativity of that? That starts that negative momentum.
What
I think
overconfident. I think, I've got it. I've got it down now. I've mastered it. You have that subconscious mindset.
Yeah.
That. Oh yeah, I'm up here now. I'm on Olympus, looking down. Not ego-wise, but
so what? You stop working out?
Well, you think, your body will naturally, start burning its own calories, and somewhat it will in a day or two, maybe, but not weeks. And it'll recognize its original pattern before it starts. You start sitting back. You start going. To your old habits.
It'll be all right.
Yeah. Oh, you got it. You've done it. You've done it 5 times,
Yeah.
Next week will be better.
I get that.
And that next week turns into 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And then you're going, wow, these awesome pants and shirt I bought, they're not fitting so well.
Well, there's the double-edged sword of positive momentum, though.
Yeah.
What's that?
Is that I think that positive momentum can give you a belief system. It can give you
a false belief system?
Maybe.
Well, you said double-edged sword.
So in a good way, you can do it to gain or grow to bigger heights, right? You can prosper more. You can achieve more because you have this belief system of, yes, I can do it. Things are going right. I've done this, this, and this. I've made it this far. I can do this. Or it's like what Brandon said, or what we've all said is, I'm complacent. I've done this before, and I can, by God, I could probably do it again if it ever got bad again. So I think that's the
false
double-edged
sense of security.
Yeah, so that's like the double-edged sword there.
What? Yeah, go ahead.
That's all I had to say.
Well, and I want to shout out real quick because I saw him on the feed there. If he's still on, happy 50th to Larry Schumann.
Yes,
we need to get
happy
on
birthday.
the podcast.
My goodness,
Anniversary?
absolutely.
The 50th birthday.
Oh,
Larry
very
Schumann.
nice.
Happy 50th birthday.
So, yeah, Larry, drink. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Happy 50th.
I don't have anything in my glass. Surprise, right?
There you go.
I have some.
All right.
He said you have a beautiful mind, though, by the way.
Who did?
Larry.
I love the man. He's awesome.
I think a good actual.
He does as well, though. Very well.
Great beard.
No. I thought we
personality?
said that in mine. Yeah. Personality.
Yeah, mine
Most
too.
positive dude.
And a
I've
good
ever
beard.
met.
I will say that.
I want to say with this though, when you look at that, I think a good metaphor is on the business sense and personal as well. Building off of what I was saying with the positive momentum as far as the compounding growth, I think that when you're looking at like networking, right? So
Yeah.
So when you're trying to do, this podcast is a great thing, right?
Yeah.
So you keep at it. If we just stop or we slow down, we're not sharing it anymore. We're not asking people to share it. People aren't sharing it, but you're not still putting the work in. You're not taking that you're like things are going well and all that stuff, so we can kind of slow down, rest on our laurels, whether it be the health thing, the business thing. But when I look at networking, it's a great example for that because.
Want to use mine?
No, we're good.
We'd like you.
All right, we're good. All right. So, but what I'm saying is the more people you meet and the more value that you're trying to provide them, then as you continue to do that, your network will grow because the more people that you're affecting, and you keep working, and you're not just like, oh, I'm not going to have to work anymore to help these people out in your network. Whether again, business is a great example of this. I think is that they start, when your kind of niche comes up in business, they're going to be the first to recommend you. Now all of a sudden your network grows. But again, you can't just rest on that and just hope that everyone else continues to do that. You have to keep expanding. You have to keep feeding that.
You're absolutely
that
right.
Strength as far as what you're providing your initial network, and all of a sudden it grows a little bit, and then you have to put it. Actually, it becomes more work. You know
That's
what I mean?
exactly
It
right.
becomes
No,
more
you're
work,
exactly
but
right.
You have to keep putting the same amount of effort in there so that you can actually provide that, and all of a sudden that network just grows and grows and grows. As soon as you stop, and that's the positive momentum there. But as soon as you stop your side of it, and it becomes a one-way street, and you're looking just to have everything fed to you, that's when your network starts to crumble. People stop thinking about you. They're what is his name? They're thinking about it. Like I knew a guy that used to do that, and we used to do a lot of business together, and we used to do a lot of referrals back and forth. But then all of a sudden, you stop your side of it. Well, that's the same thing in life, the less, like you're trying to help out friends, you're trying to be there when they need you, you're trying to provide an example, you're trying to live your best life, and hopefully that people are recognizing that, then they're going to actually, it's contagious. And it is kind of like a disease in a good way, is that, that positive momentum that you have to keep at it so that stays just as strong and I say, like a virus.
It's all, your character cannot be diminished. You can't get lost. You can't lose yourself within what you're trying to accomplish. And I think I do that too sometimes. I think a bit of me, my personality kind of gets a little, I got to be this now,
Why?
Instead of, I don't know.
What do you mean?
When I was losing the weight, I'm like, maybe I should pull back on, certain characteristics of myself.
Which are?
I'm trying to think. I'm more outgoing when I'm I feel like when I'm bigger, I'm way more outgoing. But I think in that I'm trying to prove myself more or something. I think I don't know. I think the more I take off, the more I feel revealed to the world. The more, I don't know. I just
Is that a bad thing though?
I don't know what it is. It's
You just feel off.
Not myself.
Is it because you're used to being big?
I think
And it's
part of
new
me thinks I
territory?
need to change my personality, which I don't. I think that's where I fail. Is I'm kind of perversing this.
You think maybe there's some misconception that you made a big change with your body. Now you got to move on to the next thing. Now I got to change.
That's
a good
where.
question.
That's exactly right. That's where I was trying to go. And thank you for that. Yes, I think. Now I have to alter this, which I shouldn't. People love me from the way I always have been. Why temper with that? Just get your body down, Will.
That
Just
might be some trap of success where Like,
Yes.
all right, well, I did this. Now I'm going to start fucking with this, and I can make this better too.
Or there's a
We were
guilt.
maybe
just talking
it
about
doesn't
that last
need to
week.
be made better.
Or there's
Yeah.
a subconscious guilt in myself that says, hey, you're not the way you used to be. And maybe subconsciously I am slipping back to being bigger because I felt more, mean. Jovial.
I look
That's
at it.
right
I look
there.
at it as like the John
The same.
Candy or the
Yeah.
the
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley
Yeah.
thing where it's like
Jolly.
the only
Yeah.
the only way you're not as funny. You're
Right.
not as entertaining. You're
Right.
not as harmless. If John Candy, he made a career out of being
If he
that
looked like
bigger
The
guy.
Rock, he'd have
if he looked like The Rock,
yeah.
he's not as funny.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's
so, like,
exactly
all
what
of a
you're.
sudden-
That's exactly what I'm hitting. Thank you all. That's exactly where I'm going. I feel part of me was locked away when I started losing. Like, I wasn't jokingly more outgoing. I was more, oh, look at me now. I'm starting. I think there's a certain mindset going. Oh, with muscles now comes. I need to pull back on the comedy. I need to,
Be a little more imposing.
Yes, or
No.
not opposing.
I think it's
Where's the
that's-
animal instinct?
Yeah.
I think it's a
right, Brandon?
self-reflection there. I mean, that's what I'm saying about the compounding positivity there.
You got to ground yourself.
Because now, what I'm saying is embrace that to a point. Realize that just because you are improving your health and you're not, say overweight and you're not that big funny guy that's harmless, it's like you're still the same person, right? I mean, you're still that individual that has the same personality. Now you just have improved yourself in a way that you're happy with. But
I wish I
can
could tell
can
that
you
to my
balance
brain.
that?
I know.
Can you balance that?
And maybe, and this might sound corny, but maybe some daily affirmations need to take place.
like
Maybe
that.
I need to get up and say, look, you are you. You go out being you.
John Belly says maybe it's like acting you. It's like acting you get typecast and afraid to show
That's
people
a
you have a
great-
serious
yes.
That's a good
side.
point.
Set
Very good
yourself
point.
free, brother. Is what he says.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So
Yes.
you're allowed to be a little like maybe that was your mechanism for defense, or like to.
That's
people like me
absolutely
because-
correct. I
so
used my
be
weight as
yourself.
the comedy, and everyone loved it, right? And that was my end to any crowd was my weight and my jovial, and my God,
Would you talk about your weight though?
I didn't need to. That's that. I was comfortable with it. So I think when you're comfortable, and Steve, you touched on this some podcasts ago. I was sitting in the garage when people feed off of what you were going to give them. If you act like you're the fattest person in the room, people will subconsciously treat you that way. They're going to feed off of that. Oh, look at him. He's awkward looking. He's, if you're just walking to the room confident, throw your weight around, do that. They will treat you that way. They're going to feed off of that. Anything you give, yeah.
Well, let me tell you from the opposite side, right? And so you guys make comments, and I appreciate that about my appearance and the way I've stuck with it for a long time. Here's the other side of that: is that if you make those growing moments and build on it and have the positive momentum. If I stopped going to the gym, if I stopped eating the way I do, and even I still look at myself differently than I think some other people do. But if I stopped that, I would feel like I lost a big part of myself. On the other side of that, so
Right.
it's
Right.
If all of a sudden I either got like super skinny, people are gonna say like, I had that when I lost a lot of weight. Is like, is he healthy? And the other side of it, if I just started eating whatever I wanted to, like I did in my 20s, and I only maybe stayed active, but I'm still going to the gym. Well, it doesn't show, and all of a sudden I'm like the average guy. Like, I'm not going to say I'm the biggest guy, the strongest guy, the most, cut guy. And part of going to the gym is also that repetition because, like you were saying, Will, that it's a mindset too. But if I got away from that, I would feel more insecure about myself because that is a big part of my personality in my mind. But in reality, it's just something that I'm doing that makes me feel the way I do.
What
But
you
you've
just said
made
it.
a lifestyle though.
I have, and that's my point.
It comes down to insecurity.
William's making it a lifestyle of being overweight, like that. Like I was saying with the John Candy thing, he's being like the jovial,
And that's what I'm
big
used
guy,
to.
Like
That's
Brandon
the
said,
majority of.
kind of like I'm the fat funny guy.
That's who I've been
I'm
my
harmless,
whole
like
adult life. Right.
No one really takes me too seriously because of what I look like, and then I embrace that, and then once you back off of that and you actually start doing what you did, now who am I?
Right.
That
You're
my
exactly right.
character has been has been lost.
Compromised.
Compromised. That's a better word.
Yeah.
For
We're
it.
talking about an identity thing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
And you
it.
lose yourself.
That's a good point.
I lost, not you, but I
William.
myself. And it is an insecurity. I started switching into this role. He's like a typecast. Like, okay, I'm not the fat guy anymore. I need to try to be this muscular guy who is a muscular version of me. And I think I tried to develop my mind around that more.
I think you're too hard on yourself.
Probably that as well. Again, it
Mentally,
all comes down
everyone is.
to insecurity. And that's why I got big to begin with, I think. There's something locked,
Well, look at the whole dad bod thing. When we're talking, and this goes in mom bod,
Yeah.
whatever it is, mom
Rocking
bod
that
as well.
right
It's
now.
not just for males.
It is for me.
Well, my point is that the whole thing about the dad bod or the mom bod, it's like obviously females go through an actual transformation giving birth, right? Like that's physically demanding. Where the guys, the dads, are going to be more. They get more relaxed. Or when you're in a relationship and all of a sudden you put on some weight because now you're happy in the relationship and you've lost some of the other priorities you used to have. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think it speaks to the point that, Will, you're making is that if you have that shift, not only has age started setting in and another 5 years has gone by, but
And
your
every year,
priorities
I
have
tell
changed. You don't go to the gym as much. You're eating, and it's like you're eating for the family, so now your finances have been stretched for more actual mouths to feed. And on top of that, when you were eating clean and you were meal prepping or you were doing like certain things, when you've got to have a meal for 4 people or whatever it might be, you're eating differently. Because there's more effort, there's more money that has to be put into that. But you got that point where it's like, hey, we got to time. Dustin says there's the time constraints. I mean, all of a sudden you're chauffeuring kids around and all that stuff, so you don't have the luxury of just you. You have other people, and it can be just that one person as far as a significant other, or you have kids. I mean, that doesn't just because you shift, and you're doing it on your own.
Right.
But when you shift and physically it changes, your mind changes. You're more exhausted because you have some positive things going on in your life, but sometimes you lose that identity, like Jake said, and it's something that alters your reality to a point that you start losing yourself. And what I was saying to William with you, it's you can take that and grow with it.
It's part of the evolution of.
And then you figure out if the other part that you feel like you're losing is important.
Right.
You got to figure out scheduling-wise and everything else, how do I squeeze that back in? Where's the other sacrifice?
I think
because I tell you what, playing video games or sitting on the couch and watching football, if that's your choice, but if this other thing is still out there that you want to be a part of your identity, you have to have that sacrifice somewhere else, and it's all about using the same amount of time everyone else is given.
Yeah, correct. It's probably an American mindset. You do a hard day's worth of work. You have that option right after work.
I've thought that.
You know what I'm saying? You
For a
go,
long
you know
time.
what? I just put in 9
That
hard
American
hours.
mindset.
I have the right to sit down, or I have the right to rest. And then, yeah, you do. Absolutely, you do. But
Yeah.
there's consequences to that,
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
We got to get a lot more positive.
That's all
I'm
part
beginning
of
to
it.
think this is
we're building.
therapy.
We're building on the positive.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
I need a couch to lay on.
So with we
Let's
do
get
need
into
we do
this
need
head.
a couch.
There's a show for you.
We do need
Oh,
a comfy
boy.
couch. Anyways, so with each of the times that you've kind of done this transformation, right, Will, have you recognized each time that, like, was the problem?
I only recognize it back into the slide, the backslide.
But was each time the same reason?
I think so.
As of the
absolutely.
identity
I think yes. Looking
thing.
back on that, I almost yes.
Do you think that you're
Oh my gosh,
You're-
this psycho.
do you think
This is
You're-
you're making our curiosity.
do you think your
pop.
original
I think this.
desire to get in shape is wrapped up with that alternate personality, and maybe each time you approach it,
I
that
do.
alternate personality starts
Because
approaching as well?
these waves, I call these they're waves.
what that is.
I usually don't seek out the weight loss. All of a sudden, it's just like, yep, it's time. Let's do it. It like seeks me out.
Yeah.
And boom, I'm into this mindset, and I'm ready to go. And I have this momentum. You all have been around me through this whole thing.
Yeah.
No, I like the attention on this noise right now.
There's
No,
a
not
cicada
on my,
invading space.
We had a massive bug flying around.
Mothra.
Yeah, and then it
We
landed.
need
And Dustin's like, I
Godzilla.
got this. It's like, no, just let it lie. Let
If
it lie.
anyone can get Godzilla,
But here's the thing, Will,
Okay.
is this is good though,
it is good, but
because then if it happens again, you
my
can
God,
recognize
it
it
is
faster.
mentally and emotionally exhausting right now.
I think you need to find a funny, jovial, buff person.
Absolutely.
Not like in person, but maybe like The
Well,
Rock's comedies.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin, he's not that big though. He's tiny.
He's not big, but he got, like, when he was doing all his movies with The
Plus,
Rock,
he was just in an accident. Is he recovered?
I don't know.
He's doing well.
Good luck, Kevin
he's
Hart.
Doing well, I think.
If you're listening, Kevin Hart,
Yeah,
good
he's
luck
out
to
of
you.
hospital now.
I'm sure he's listening tonight. But no, it's just. But he got all into fitness and everything else when he was doing those movies with The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he's tiny, and they joke about that part of it. To your point, Will, is that
Well, he's
just
kind of
under stature.
typecast as the tiny, funny guy.
But
So-
he was getting really, really
But he
actually
can't do
ripped.
anything about his
But
height.
that's also his job. So,
Super successful.
I got a possible alternate direction. Not really alternate, but just a different.
Is
This is
another-
where we go. Yes,
this-
go.
Careful,
No,
everyone.
this is-
For those who don't know, he has been palpatining me for the last 4 or
Explain
5
that.
months.
Explain that for those that
don't
don't know.
explain
us.
it.
All right.
They don't need to know.
All right,
Palpatine.
my apologies,
You know what Star Wars
Lord
is.
and Master.
All right, I read a book. This was probably 20 years ago. I believe the author's name was George Leonard. The book was called Mastery, and one of the primary things that he laid out in it was, and it's a short book. If anybody wants to read it, it's a good book.
Mastery.
It's called Mastery by George Leonard. And one of the primary points he made, like really the primary thing that he was getting at, was you're going to have certain momentum when you're facing a challenge. Like if you're climbing up a hill, if you're facing something down, for most people that gives them a certain impetus to act, and they're struggling to get to the top of that hill.
Yeah.
And then you've got other times where you're just kind of coasting. You're going downhill. You made it to the top and you're coasting. And you've got that momentum that you built before that's carrying you forward. The part that most people don't talk about, I really haven't heard it talked about much before or after I read this book. He called it the plateau. That flat area that's really most of our lives, where you're not struggling to get to the top. You're not coasting down to the bottom. It's like you climbed up, you coasted down, and you rolled about 800 yards, and there's about 8 miles still ahead of you of flat ground, and that momentum you built before is gone.
So what's his answer on
Now-
that plateau?
You grind it out.
Yes.
You keep going.
Okay.
That's resting on your laurels, right? I mean, that's
Right,
what you're saying
right.
is that once you hit that plateau,
Right.
But, what I,
You gotta
but,
figure
but
it
there's a
out.
process.
But
That's
you-
what I like about this.
But you don't
There's
have
a process there.
Yeah, you don't have that challenge of I got to climb to the top.
But it's seeing where you're going
Right. That's
and
the other
knowing that
thing.
the plateau's there and
Knowing
knowing that you have
that's
to
where
get
you're
through
at.
it.
And it's
I
a
like
time-
that
it's
a
Yeah.
lot.
time thing,
I like that
because
a lot.
When you're
How much time do you want to spend on top of the mountain? That's another like
You gotta
you're on
read,
top of that mountain, like I
Thus
got.
Spake
That's a
Zarathustra
pretty
for
good
that.
place. I want to go there.
Yeah, but then you're like, okay, I'm up here. I've got. Do I stay up here? Do I want to stay up here?
You wanna
Or
ride
do
that
I,
sled down
look
is
down
what
the
you wanna
mountain,
do.
and go, oh, well, that wasn't such a bad place. The backslide, the going down the mountain, mentally, emotionally, physically, is the easy part, right?
is.
As you're going down the mountain,
It happens a lot faster than
Really
going back
fun a
up.
lot
And
of
then
times,
it's
too.
when you get that back down to the bottom, you realize, oh no, the view was much better at the top. Now I gotta get back up there.
But going
and I think
down-
sometimes it's the climbing that you see, but once you're up
It is.
there,
Well,
Well,
that's the thing that he talks about on the plateau is your momentum's gone.
yeah,
You're in steady state.
yeah.
And you could do nothing. And this is another,
That's the hard part.
another thing I thought of about the title of the subject here, positive momentum. A lot of times, momentum is what matters.
Right.
Because a lot of times you're not going to know, am I going in the right direction or not? I mean, if you're doing heroin, maybe back off. But if you
Easier
get,
said than
say
done, I'm sure.
you get a job that you don't really like, but it's your only option, it's momentum. Keep going doing that, and eventually you're going to cross the plateau and get to another hill to climb.
Well, or to your point, I mean, you don't necessarily have to, we're talking about climbing mountains and everything like that, but people that actually do that, so we have a good friend Anna that actually
Yeah.
does a lot of climbing.
Yeah.
Look at that mentality,
Right.
When you're actually doing that, and I think this is it's very relevant and a good metaphor for life. All of the things we're talking about is that she seeks another mountain. So it's
She
not just
comes
the
back,
one time.
Spend some time, build
Yeah.
back up. And
what I
then
was
It's
trying
not
to say
just
a
the
couple
one
weeks
thing. It's not
ago.
just getting through that plateau. But I think that's a good point. You have to actually
That's
keep
exactly
grinding. You
right.
have to keep working. But
Don't stop
once
at
you get
one
to
mountain.
the top,
Don't stop at one mountain.
if you hit the top, and Nate has a question, but once you get to the top, find the new challenge, find the new mountain, or hopefully there's more to climb, obviously.
think
But
the
if you hit that
struggle-
point, then that's another point where not only it's not just the plateau, which is a great metaphor for keep grinding, but it's once you hit the top, are you done?
No.
Or do you find another mountain
For
to
certain
climb?
people, you are.
Well,
though.
you're going to have to, but I think the point is that you have to be able to. If you're at the base of a mountain and you want to get to the top, that's motivation enough. If you made it to the top and you want to get down, that's motivation enough.
Right.
Finding the motivation on the plateau, looking for that other challenge, that's where people get stuck.
I agree.
See, this is what I was talking about a few weeks ago, where I think on the podcast itself it was misconstrued as like my mindset is negative. But when I was explaining that, if I'm doing well, and because some people are out there and I'm kind of one of those people in some instances where if things are going good, then like I stay at that plateau, but I don't diminish when things go wrong. I actually look forward to it because it's another hill.
It's a challenge.
It's another challenge to climb.
Yeah.
And I think when I first explained it on here that it was
Yeah.
misconstrued as saying, no, I want to fail. No, it's not that. It's just I look for the other challenge.
Well, you want to risk failure because you know that's
It's
the only
something-
that's the only way to success is to risk that failure.
Right, and more oftentimes than not, the next failure will lead to an even bigger success.
Well, you learn from your losses,
Or
right?
yeah,
I mean,
reveal
that's
a
that sports
deficiency
thing.
you got to fix.
Well, there's a sports thing, right? You come out of a
Yeah.
loss, you get an L on the record, and you're looking for you come out even more hungry,
Right.
which is that perfectly makes sense coming from what you've said since we started this. With the mentality of being an athlete your whole life. I mean, that's the whole thing. You come out of a loss, and you can either just be like, "Oh, fuck it, it's over. I'm not going to do this again," or you can come out and you're like, "No, we're gonna win the next game."
Right.
And I think sales is a good example of the whole mountain thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Once you actually hit that peak, you hit that, you close a big deal,
Yeah.
or you're talking about, earlier you were talking about relationships, you land the girl, you land the guy, you land the relationship. You still have to keep moving. You still have to confront the next challenge.
But there
and,
again-
and actually try to close the next deal. You're constantly trying to close those
You have
deals.
to find it first, though.
You do have to find it.
I think that's
agree.
a large piece that gets
And that's
skipped,
innately
is
human,
finding
like
it.
you said, not just with weight loss. With I found the person that I got this reward in this beautiful individual. But hey, there's another individual. I like that thrill of finding this one.
Right.
I think this
The thrill of
passes
the
on.
chase.
Yeah,
The thrill of the climb
Yeah.
in that case.
absolutely. So on so many levels, it's just it's in our nature. It's being happy. It's being content and moving forward with what you have.
Well, and Nate says this. He asked a question, actually. Does it take more effort to get to the top or to stay there?
That's getting to the top. No, effortless to me. I mean, there's some effort. It's once you're up there. What do you see more to climb, or do you see? Oh, I'm at the top. I can rest here for now. And continue on some other day. It's. I don't think you should ever look that you made it to the top. I think the top should probably be the end of your life, right?
So it's a
It should
never-ending
be-
climb.
It should be.
It's
In
like
a
a Matthew
positive way, in that
McConaughey
positive
quote.
momentum
I love it.
way, right?
Yeah.
Keep climbing, no matter. You just make that top an endless thing. Just keep it up there. Just keep climbing.
It's interesting that you say, well, do you retract your statement of saying that it's easier at the top?
He said it was effortless.
Well,
effortless.
that's where the problem lies, because you do see you made it kind of up there.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying you should get rid of thinking you're at the top.
I just think of the saying.
Like
Who
Everest.
said it? Was it Tupac or Biggie? It was like more money, more problems.
Mace, I think.
It was a
Was it
rapper for
Mace?
sure.
part of Nate, you're the rap expert.
Yes, please.
Using me with rhyme.
Ryan Newman, if you're
Get
still
Ryan on the horn. Let's see what he says.
Yes.
Well,
Phone
whoever.
a
What,
friend.
that's what I
That
think
was a
about.
Mace song.
That's what I think about. So, like, when you reach the top, it's just like more problems. So it's like you got to keep the foot on the gas.
I think that depends on the person and the
Correct.
challenge as well. Because if you have, say, say you get somebody that to stick with the getting in shape thing, gets in shape. Now all of a sudden, a bunch of girls are coming at him, and he wants to bang every single one, and lies and cheats and steals on every one of them.
William, we're looking at you.
And destroys himself or destroys his ability to have a relationship.
Lots of house calls.
Then it's harder for him to stay at the top than to get there.
Yeah.
If it's somebody that does that, I mean, guys are gonna fool around with different girls. That happens. But if it's somebody that can commit to a person and actually build a relationship and live at the top with them versus allowing the challenges that come with being at the top to destroy them, I mean, it depends on the person.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, that's exactly what you're saying with the relationship side of it. Like when you get in shape and all that stuff, and all of a sudden you have these new challenges. Same thing with being at the top, being the top salesperson, being the top, whatever it might be. Now it's like the king of the hill mentality, right?
Yeah.
Now you got new challenges coming up. You didn't realize you had when you were actually struggling to climb that mountain or to get in shape and all that stuff, and all of a sudden you land the girl, you land the guy, you land the job, whatever it is. You have to not lose yourself and what you were doing. That's the whole thing about keep climbing, keep getting through the plateau, because all of a sudden you have these new challenges coming in.
Right.
Whether it be more people that are interested in you, if you've got a great career going, if you're a business owner out there and you actually have built a business. Are you looking to just sell out as soon as someone comes to you, hey, I'll give you this much for your business, and you look at it as like an easy paycheck, but you got to think to yourself, it's like, well, in the next 5 years, if I put a little more work in, I keep at this, what will that offer be then?
Yeah.
Or what will the reward be then? Am I going to sell out now? It's winning the lottery. It's like, am I going to take the lump sum, or am I going to take the annual thing because I'm going to make, in the end, I'm going to make more money? It's
Depends
just like
on the
you look
plan.
it depends on the plan. It depends how old you are. But I mean, when it comes to like what he was talking about with the fitness part of it, and as far as like now you have more people attracted to you.
Yeah.
Your options open up, if you will,
But
and that's anything.
back to the topic. It's positivity. It's once you're there, keep it positive. Don't
What
be
about recognizing
sometimes my content is not so positive. Maybe my contentment is just sit down and rest for a minute, and that's probably not.
Well, that's
so positive.
easier.
Right? It's easier, and
Not saying it's a good thing. It's just a fact.
Right. And the struggle sometimes is a struggle, and you want to distance yourself sometimes from the struggle instead of going back at it.
I like what Eric said. Being at the top just amplifies who you really are.
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
a self-reflection thing that Jake brought up earlier, is that even when you do that, I think that's something that it's not resting on your laurels. It's how did you get there, and you recognize who you really are by getting towards the top of the mountain or being on the top of that and actually accomplishing that goal. It's how do you respond to that? It could be a small goal, it can be a big goal, but if you hit that goal, that next step, how do you respond?
But we always go through ups and downs. There's even downs when you're in a positive momentum. Geez, I can't even say momentum spiral. And through those downs, I think like it's going back to that same point of when it's positive, it's easier to keep the belief alive about doing well.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's almost not a belief. It's knowledge at that point.
Right.
It's not like you're believing something you can't see, you can't feel, you can't taste. You're feeling, tasting, and seeing it every day.
Yeah.
It's just it's true at that point. And that benefits you to some degree, I think.
Yeah, and I look at it as like a good batting streak, like in baseball. Like just like throughout life. Like other things like cascade on themselves.
Yeah, you get hot.
Yeah. So, I think that we all go through those. I got to read this book. Like, how short is it?
It's
like a 50, 100 pages?
I'd say.
How many pictures are in
I'm
it?
guessing it's 120 pages with large borders and large print.
Okay.
So it's not tough.
Okay.
It's written in crayon, every one of them.
But what I like about it is because that's kind of my belief system really too. And I agree on that up and then down and then like this up and then plateau, because I know I say this a lot on here, but it's like we all have different processes throughout our life that we have to go through.
Right.
I think that there really is, a higher being, and I think that the universe has cast a different life for each one of us, where there's certain things where, like right now, like I know that I'm in a plateau, and it took me about 6 months to figure that out because I was so high up here, and not to the global spectrum, right?
Well, but for your own life,
but
from
for
your
my own life,
perspective,
from my
that's
perspective,
reality.
I thought I was up here, and then I came down, and I don't think I went all the way down, but I definitely landed within like the bottom quarter.
Right.
And now I've just been streamlining because I know that there's going to be this next climb, but it's almost going to be like a hop, skip, and a jump for me instead
Right.
of just a climb. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And that's the challenge is keep moving forward while you don't have that challenge in front of you. Just the daily grinding out until you get to it.
And I think as long as it's like in your head, like for you, Will, like I think I turned over to you, huh?
No.
I'm not trying to give you
No,
advice.
you're all right. You're all right.
I think for me, like if I was you, talking to myself,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that like you have to recognize that what has happened is in the past, and understanding what can happen if
Right.
you like take that day off, or if I start thinking that I'm not really who I am anymore. Am I upset about that?
Or maybe that's just it's just a form of an excuse.
I don't think so. I think it's who you are.
I didn't want to lose what made me positive, right? Made me the seeker out with friends, and I don't know. I was kind of coming into myself rather than being more outgoing than I normally was.
That's changing your mentality from being the underdog. Right, and that's a mentality, right?
Right.
I mean, that's obviously,
Ooh, I like that.
We talked about this a lot, and,
I like
and
that.
Jake and I, this is months ago,
like
where
that.
it was like, when you're up against the ropes or you're on your back, you can either like get comfortable and just kind of just get used to that feeling and embrace that's comfortable.
Right.
You're the underdog. Every fight you go into, you're the underdog. But when you actually start winning some fights, you start winning and you hit those goals, you're not the underdog anymore. Now all of a sudden you're the card favorite. That's okay. That's progress. You should embrace that. You don't get that's not losing who you are. Someone said that earlier. It's like, once you get to the top, that shows who you really are. You need to embrace that. But you accomplish that. Don't forget where you came from. So that would be
right.
To,
and this
to
is
Will's
all
story
all this information is fantastic, and it's never on a conscious level with me.
It's not.
Always, and for a lot of it's on a subconscious level. I don't have these thoughts during the day. I don't have the thought of being an narcoleptic. My thought is sleeping a lot. When once that pill is wearing down, I just want to take a nap and sleep. That's where my mentality is usually. So a lot of my gusto comes from that pill. But it's never conscious. It's always, I don't like sit down and think, oh, it's this, and this is the reason. It's just, it floats around in the head, and then I usually go, well, gotta go do something. Get away from that head, right? Oh, let me go to the pub. Let me just get away from it and go have a laugh with Brandon or, many people in this group. Just go have some. So I kind of run away from it and go back into that. Let's have a beer and laugh, and that original. So it's not from a conscious level. I mean, I need to make it more conscious is what I need to make it more. Will, this is what's happening. Again, a daily affirmation. Today is your day. You can make it whatever you want it to.
Focus.
Start the more. Yes, yeah. There it is. Start. There it is. I don't talk. Never mind. Yeah. So tell yourself every morning, this is your day. This is a brand new day. Don't go in that backslide, Will, because that possibility is right there.
So Will, this is going to sound
I need a couch.
bad.
For real.
This is going to sound bad, but let me Let me
Where's
ask
that
this.
positive momentum?
Well, it's got to get worse before it gets better.
Come on now.
Here we go.
This is the downhill part.
Yeah.
Call
This
in
is
Dr.
build-
Freud.
build-
the
building
whole
momentum.
podcast
Calling
is
Dr.
literally the
Freud.
mystery in one lump sum. Okay. So, when you're down, what without being conscious, do you remember what you're thinking about? What's your thoughts?
My thought is get out of wherever I am and go talk to people and don't stew, right? Not dark. It's just.
But stew on what? I'm trying to
You
get
stew
down
on,
to.
I
like-
should have went to the gym. Oh yeah, you should have went to the gym. Well, then I'm just going to go to the pub. Bang, you know.
Is that the only thing, or what does the gym cascade on other things in your life?
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Again, this
Meaning,
is getting heady. I didn't sign up for all this.
You actually did.
Damn it! This is some sort of intervention, isn't it?
There's
That's
a-
probably the real title of this whole
That
thing.
camera's not
Yeah.
even on. That camera's not even on.
Dang it!
Dustin's running this.
Probably a crowd of people in your.
Not right now.
They're all coming out with cake.
Yikes! Well, cake, you said.
What are you getting at?
No,
Jay?
okay. So what I'm trying to say, because I don't know you very well, to be honest, Will. Like besides the
You're
Fido
getting.
and-
You're getting a
so
lot.
I'm
right
trying
now.
to get down to you. Steve and I have had more than enough conversations like this before.
Yeah.
So
We're getting there. Not more than enough.
what? So those thoughts, though, what does? So when your initial thought is, I should have went to the gym and I didn't.
But I don't. So I don't.
You don't think
As
that?
soon as those thoughts come, I run.
You run.
I run
Okay.
to escape them,
Okay.
to distract myself from them. Right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be down. I don't
Okay.
want to beat myself up.
Yeah.
What's my alternative? My alternative probably should go to a gym for just an hour. That's all it's needed, and then go have fun. But I take that. It's easier to go to the pub. I think.
Yeah.
And to, I don't know. I would like to go to the pub right now.
I appreciate. No, I appreciate.
It's cheaper here. It's cheaper here. Don't worry. We got the
Okay.
drinks.
I appreciate it. I just
Now everyone at the pub's gonna be like, "Well, are you okay? Things all right, Will?"
because I didn't know if it was going to cascade into something that, like, because some people it cascades into feeling like they're a burden. That it gets into.
I've always had that feeling. I don't want to be a burden.
and I kind of want like
I don't want to take, like, again, this is uncomfortable for me right now. I don't want to be an issue of a topic. I don't want to be, the focal point. That's primarily where it all, just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to hear what else someone else is doing. I don't.
So what are you getting at, Jake?
I'm saying it's important to talk about it.
I get it.
I'm saying it's important to.
I'm 20 minutes away from having probably a big bawling fest full of cheers and.
I'm
We're gonna
saying
keep that camera rolling.
We call that a breakthrough.
I'm saying it.
Yeah, on the video.
I'm saying it's important to recognize that going forward.
I get you, and I get, and again,
And it's important
and battling
to
that
understand
helps you get back up
the
on the
thoughts.
mountain, right? Yeah.
because that's what I've done is understanding my thoughts. I've had tons of lonely nights where I'm sure close friends and family thought I was just like a closet drinker and I was just getting hammered every night, but I really wasn't. If I had one or two pours an evening, that would be it.
Right.
And then, no, I wasn't stewing. I was trying to figure out myself a little bit.
But I
more.
feel I get trapped in that. Like it's a trap, mind trap.
You
I
can't
don't,
get trapped in some negativity in that.
You can.
You
Right.
lose
You
yourself.
can.
and that's
I'm
why
not-
I escape it. That's why I don't. I get from work, and my mind is, gym. Should go to the gym. Well, who's at the pub? I bet I would like to go to the pub and talk to so and so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liz, for instance, love talking to Liz. Have a good time and laugh.
She's all
Brandon,
right.
we have a nice little new circle of friends at the pub, and it's my enjoyment, and I seek it out, and we do.
I
my
completely
goal is
understand
set,
that.
right? My goal is met when I go to the gym for that
Yeah.
purpose. I have fun. I spent the afternoon, getting enlightened by Brandon's full of some wisdom.
Palpatine.
Yeah, palpitating.
Jake, what do you suggest beyond that? How do you dig yourself out, though? So we've established. I mean, I agree with what we're talking about. I mean, I agree with the fact that you should embrace that in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But what's step 2?
I think one is the recognition of the thought itself.
Right.
Step 2 is getting out of it. Well, I'm sorry. Step 2 is making a plan to get out of the hole.
Yeah.
and getting out of the thoughts.
Okay.
And step 3 is forcing yourself to be thankful or to be gracious. Do something
Thankful for gracious for what?
for the things that are good.
Okay.
Instead of not going to the gym thinking, I know it's a cliche, but I will go tomorrow. Not I'm going to tomorrow just as no, I will go tomorrow. It's in the intention of the talk with yourself.
Right.
Well, Eric, on the feet, I think if you're happy, then it doesn't matter.
That's true.
So I like that point.
That's
because
very
when
true.
You're talking about the gym. You're talking about certain things when you actually run in. William, I should have gone to the gym.
Well,
it gets to the point where it's like if it's not just like to anyone listening, it's not just about if that's not a priority. I mean, be healthy. But if you don't want to be like you don't want to be at the gym all the time, and it's like you can be healthy other ways, right? I mean, it's mostly through nutrition. So that would be one aspect of it is that if you want to be a certain way, then yes, you should embrace that part that you need to do steps to be there. But there's the self-reflection. It's like, is the gym really that important, or are you projecting that as something that I
that's
should
what I
do
was
that?
trying to dive to.
Okay.
Steve, you being a witness to this,
I am.
how much conviction did I have in the gym? It's really
When we worked out together?
Yeah.
Dude, you were constantly moving. Like I couldn't keep track.
minus
of you.
the day I had a little nappy poo.
No,
That all was spent.
no.
But yeah, it did. But it was better to go into the gym with someone on that aspect. I myself in a gym, I just look around at that equipment and go, "Yep, I know what to do there." Someone's gonna go on that machine. I don't, I'll just go over here, and then that just turns into, again, I don't want to be a burden. I have that mentality. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to,
I want to build off of what Jake, you and William were really talking about is we've talked about. I know I've talked about it on the past. Is sometimes when you are in that position you're talking about, you are your own motivation, and you've already been there. And sometimes you have to take that where when you're having that self-reflection and you're doing that and you're getting to step 3 of being thankful and gracious for other things that are good. You might be your own motivation when it comes to this when things were good, quote, you were in a good relationship, when you had a good job, when you were in good health, and any of these things have actually been changed, altered for a negative. To get back to that positive momentum is sometimes you look back at when you feel like it's a self-reflection thing. It's like, when was I happiest? And a lot of times it is that. You talk to people that, oh, well, I used to eat really healthy. I used to, oh, you know how much I used to bench, or, I used to have this job. It's like, that's great. What are you doing now? And that's something that you can ask yourself, is that what was I doing consistently when I was my happiest? Because right now I am not at my happiest.
And that's correct.
I'm way below where I was, and that's that you're happiest up until this point.
And at my happiest was the time I chose to lose that weight, right?
But
you're
focusing on, and again, I think it's easy on the health journey and the fitness journey, but how did that affect you talked about, and I can appreciate it, that you lost yourself a little bit, that you're not the and I'm just going to be blunt, like you're not the fat, jovial, like, comedian in the group, but now you feel like you have altered yourself.
I wasn't comfortable in the role I created for myself.
Your role had only changed probably in your own head.
Right, exactly.
Everyone around you still looked at you as
100% agree.
And they're like, God damn, he's actually making big improvements
Yes.
in his life. So I mean,
I will agree to that.
That's one of those things that it wasn't necessarily. And I think that's that self-reflection, that self-diagnosis. It's not necessarily what was I doing. And I think this is a good point when it gets to that the easy pickings thing, where it's like, what was I when I was the happiest? Oh, I was 370 pounds. That's easy. I'll just stop doing everything else I'm doing, and then I'll just sink right back into that. No, you were actually.
Really, but I don't consciously think that. It's not coming from a place of.
It's not just about you. I'm saying everyone. It's like it's that easy out.
Right. It's something in the subconscious. It really is, because it's not a choice. I just say, oh, I'm gonna backslide today. I'll do it. You know,
It is a conscious choice. I actually
it's a
think
conscious
that
choice
it's a
to
very
go to the
conscious
gym. It's
choice.
a conscious choice, but not the. For me, it's not
the underlying motivations are usually not conscious though. Those things, whether like whatever you're approaching as you lose weight, you feel you may be losing yourself a bit, and you know, Jake, I'm sure there's things for you that you've sat, you know, when you're sitting down on the porch with a whiskey and people think you're being weird or evasive, and you're just there with your thoughts.
Yeah.
A lot of the things behind.
Well, and I think it's
we are-
hereditary too,
It's
because my
absolutely
dad,
hereditary,
Oh,
but-
personality
my mom,
is huge.
I just sorry to cut you off.
No,
but
it's fine.
I just noticed it like a few weeks because I always wondered when I was a kid like why my dad like would just like want to be alone,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, is he mad at me? Like
Yeah.
what I do, like as a kid,
lot of assumptions
as a
come
kid
out
would
trying to
do,
interpret it.
and it's like as I get older, it's like, good Lord, like.
Yeah, I can see why he.
I'm
fucking-
him. Like
yeah.
that's what I've been doing.
Right.
And then like we'll sit like at the house, and I would even still today like I'll ask my mom and say like is Dad all right? And she's like I think he's okay.
He's doing his thing.
Yeah, and she's like I don't know why he does that, and I explained to her not too long ago. I was like, now I see it.
Well, I mean, I do the same. People exhaust me. Like engaging with people, like some people gain energy from it. I get completely
and
exhausted.
you will take some sabbatical.
I disappear.
I'll see him at the pub for weeks, and then there will be a solid week or two you don't see Brandon, but he went into his fortress of solitude.
Yeah, I just got to go
and-
away for a while.
Maybe he just
But
doesn't
then
want to
he
drink
comes back
anymore.
refreshed, right?
Yeah. So when you're Jake, when you're doing that, when you spend some time with the whiskey and your thoughts, was there was there anything in particular? Because a lot of times, and I think it's kind of what you're saying, Will, when you start diving into your own head.
Yeah.
Let me get the fuck out of here.
It's a trap to
go
me.
talk to people.
Yeah,
a lot of people are terrified to spend time with themselves and
That's what
figure
it
out
is.
the underlying.
It's that dragon
motivations.
that you don't want to face.
You don't want to
There's
face
a giant
it.
dragon in front of you. Do I stay and fight this dragon?
You don't want to go
or
in the
do
cave.
I,
You want to
yeah,
go back to the
right.
pub. But when you've been, the last few weeks, months, however long it's been, sitting there doing that, that's when you start learning shit about yourself. Like, oh, that's what I do.
And I appreciate
That's what I'm
that
doing.
time.
Is there anything in particular regarding either the subject or not the subject that you've learned recently in doing that?
I think that with your, I mean, it's kind of hard, like right off the top, but and this doesn't go for everyone. Like I want to point that out right away, but I think for me, with your question, Brandon, it goes to what Steve says. I think after enough time, for me, it was a conscious decision to say, I'm not happy. And it's okay to say I'm not happy. I got Steve over here saying I'm not happy, and I'm saying I'm okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you just didn't recognize it yet. It
And
took you
I
some
didn't
time.
want to.
Right.
And I don't want this like to be like a whole plea thing, but I think that this is like hugely
No, say
important.
your message. Say your
I think
message.
this
Say
is
your message.
This is where people get stuck and lose momentum.
I
so
think
they got to work.
I
through
think
this
that this is hugely important to say because especially the time being that this September is actually like Suicidal Awareness Month. So I think that it's very important for positive momentum in our topic to understand how to get out of this hole
right.
that some people are in and how to get on to a snowball effect of positivity. So I think, again, it's not just for me. It's, everyone has their different ways of doing things. But for me, that time alone allowed me to make the conscious decision and hit myself over the head and say, I'm not okay, so now what?
Well, that's an important, a very important point, and that's where I keep asking. Like when we were talking earlier, it was so now what? Once you've recognized it, what step? I said step 2, and then you had step 2 and step 3. Whatever the step is, where you get not past it, but where you actually take that first step.
I think a lot
right.
of
So I mean, like you're when you were asking questions to Will, when you're talking right now, I think those steps are very important. But when you talk about what you just brought up with September, it can be quicksand. So when do you realize that, or what is the step, or what's the encouragement? When the whole topic tonight is positive momentum, and now we're talking about, taking time by yourself and everything else, and you're talking about Suicide Awareness Month, that's the whole message there, is that how do you change it to positive momentum? Or how do you, because sometimes when people are in that state of mind, everything around them, you have a great job, you have a great person in your life, you have great friends, you have great things, you have everything on paper, and you're still not happy, or you're still in that state of mind. That's the step. This is the positive momentum. Moving forward, staying hungry, staying positive. Like, do you talk to someone? Do you reach out? Do you figure it out on your own? I mean, you're saying you hit that point now, and that your post today actually on social media personally actually hit me hard, because I'm not going to say because I didn't. I'm not going to say that I thought that at some point, but it was like, what's the fucking breaking point? I don't want the breaking point to anyone, not only people that I care about, but I never want that breaking point to be like, you know what, I am more of a burden on people, like Will kept saying. I'm more of a burden on people, so I might as well just cut it off. Or do you actually find the positive momentum, and how do you dig yourself out? And I'll look at it as be that dog that you're trying to save in the water, like Will was saying earlier, and be that dog and actually listen to a point, have your self-reflection, and realize that you're not getting out of the water by yourself.
Right.
And that's where it's like sometimes the positive momentum comes from someone fucking kicking you, and all of a sudden now you're moving forward, and you're like, what the fuck was that? Shit, all right, well, all right, I'm out of the water, and now where do I go from here? Or you just turn back around and you get in the water again because it was comfortable that, this is what I know, this is all I know, and this is what I want to do, is I want to be struggling.
Well,
and that's not addressed to you necessarily, Jake. I'm just saying,
sure?
Everyone. I mean, well, no, because that's where the conversation was going, and you were talking. I'm just saying, like, sometimes accept a little bit of help, because that might be the only positive momentum. Just let someone else, or open yourself up to other people around you, and finally be like, you know what, I'm hearing this enough, or I'm going through this, that is the only first little step of the positive momentum, and all of a sudden now you're the snowball.
But unfortunately, not to put it delicately, a successful suicide person is someone who doesn't show signs, who usually doesn't want, they mask it. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I didn't see that coming.
They're normally the happiest people.
All the more reason to keep talking to people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But truthfully, right? You have many people who threaten it, and they're going to continue. They want that attention, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if you look it up, your true suicidal, I don't want to use the word successful, but that complete,
effective.
I think it starts with
hardly
people reaching
Robin
out.
Williams, no signs, of course, you wouldn't have thought he was, and multiple, I've heard a lot of, really, they killed themselves, I wouldn't know.
I think one of the things that maybe you need to do, and Steve, you seem very enthusiastic about getting to the point of moving forward, but I think some people hang out there for a bit, and you got to figure out how you got there.
Yeah, that's the same point I was making when you were your happiest.
Bingo.
Well, true, but I think, all right, you feel this way, you recognize it, you acknowledge it, and you accept it. What's the next step is not always moving out of that space. It's figuring out how you got there so you don't go right back in the same direction.
That's how I am. And that's
are you still working on trying to figure out how you got there? Or is that
No.
just your mental process?
No, but it took
that
me
way?
months and months to figure out how I got there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things is that I know that my personality is somewhat different, and that's how I was, is that I don't think I showed signs of like being a burden, and I'm not saying like I was a suicidal risk. I'm just saying I think to the naked eye, I think to some people maybe they looked at that as like,
well, they may see a change in your personality, or a little more down or whatever. And,
but that's like I said, like it's understanding the circumstances And for me, it was understanding that I came from up here, now I'm down here, and now this is my process of getting out of it. But it may not be as quick as I want it to be. It may not be as quick as people around me want it to be, so that I am happy again, or that I seem happy, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that, to answer Steve's question, I think that the first step is either, one, taking ownership and making the conscious decision to reach out to others, and that's why I posted that. But I think
it was a great post.
But I think that the second one is that when there's people, I don't want to say like me, but there's people that are out there that want to reach out, and either anonymously or just through like social media, or even just like a pat on the back and say, how are you? Or like, are you okay? And even if that person like doesn't want to talk, like, you still stick around. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's
Right.
a true friend. That's a true loved one. And that's someone that like truly cares. And then they'll stick beside you through all that plateau that you have to get out of.
Well,
So-
and Dustin says, unfortunately, he's talking to me and what I was saying, unfortunately, it doesn't always happen because it's not that easy at all.
No.
I know this from having discussed with people I know who have been through things such as depression, and may or may not still be battling it. I agree completely. I mean, this is something else, and you guys can disagree with me all you want. So in my family, I've seen, actually, through the more recent generations and directly in my family, I've seen what, and I don't want to get too serious on this topic, I mean, because it is all about positive momentum, but there was someone in my immediate family that did commit suicide, and I've seen how that actually affects the people that are on the outside of it. Now, hopefully that person, and I'm not going to talk about it in depth, but I hope that person found relief, I guess, but it doesn't change the fact that you have to find why you're at that point. And I know it is a sickness. I understand that. I'm not saying it's not. But when you listen to podcasts like this and this comes up, you have a conversation like this and this comes up, it is a very selfish act, and it is about yourself. I will say that. And I'm not saying they're the worst person in the world that had to get to that point, or they're dealing with depression or anything like that. But if you actually can say out loud that I am depressed and I'm dealing with this is where you need to seek this out. It's not fucking easy, but this is where you have to do it. I've dealt with my own level of depression. I've seeked physical things. We talked about like the hormone replacement therapy and stuff like that. That is something that is super common. And what I'm saying is that get off your ass, and I know it's oversimplifying it, but there has to be a point where you recognize that someone is saying something to you. You need to reach for that branch. You're talking about the dog in the water. That's a point where someone is reaching out a branch to you. Fucking grab a hold of it and start figuring it out. If you need an out, that's your decision. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm saying that there is an option to find that positive momentum again in life. And that's the message I want to actually portray here tonight, is that you can actually do that. And when things are going well, don't feel sorry for yourself just because that's how you feel. Figure it out. We talked about checking under the hood. Go get blood tests. Go figure this stuff out. Seek professional help, because sometimes it is most of the time it's out of your control, and it's something that you don't even realize. But you talk to people. It's not just fucking listening to a podcast. It's not just talking to your friends. Sometimes you need to talk to someone that is absolutely trained in this from a physical standpoint or a psychological standpoint. That you need to do that. If you have any sense of the will to make sure that it's going to change, that's that split moment. That's that fucking second. That's when you pick up the phone. That's when you actually go on Google and figure it out and look it up and then make that call and set up an appointment to talk to someone.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's what I feel.
That's great.
I'm going to need a bam bam after all of this.
Well, I think Steve got his closing remarks out of the way.
No, I got plenty more to say, but yes.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Do you have any closing remarks? Will?
Yeah.
Cut to Brandon.
Brandon.
Camera
first.
2.
I don't know what.
Closing remarks, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The book I referenced earlier, George Leonard, Mastery, go read it. It's like 120 pages, big text, big margins.
Thank you.
And it's it's a good book. Quick little if you need a little leg up on, getting out of a spot, getting some momentum back, or at least recognizing where you're at in the process of obtaining it, it's a good place to start.
Thank you for being on.
I got something that helped me out of. I had a bout of depression a while ago, and it was my deepest point before I met all of you all, and I felt this. All the badness was overcoming, and whatever God or this. All of a sudden, I was laying up, looking at the ceiling, and this I just visioned this golden rope being pulled down in front of me.
Are you serious right now?
I'm positive. Yes.
That's amazing. Go ahead.
And it was grab that rope and start pulling yourself up. There is a being, there's something loving looking down saying it's not over, right? Just grab that rope. It presents itself in front of everyone at their darkest times. Just grab it and pull yourself up. And try to stay in the light. Just there is a light and there's a dark. That's science, right? But try to stay in that light as much as you can. Surround yourself with it, because there's a lot of dark out there that will just do their damnedest to try to get a hold of that light, to extinguish that light. But you gotta really, brighten that light more.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you, Brandon. Thank you, William, for being on tonight. It's been awesome. I feel like I led this down this road, but I think that we all have our demons, and I think it's super important to talk about them no matter what size they are. It doesn't, because we all have our demons.
Absolutely.
that they're as big as the world, and it doesn't matter who else thinks that they're small or big. If that makes sense. So I think that we've done this tonight, and I hope that we all have at least listened to one another, because I think that that's a big importance when it comes to talking about depression and even, worse things than that. So I hope that everyone got something out of this, and thank you for tuning in to the Bourbon and BS podcast. I know Steve's got some other things that he wants to talk about, but I think for me, the most important thing is the recognition of what is going on. And I think that either that will be portrayed to you in your own light, or something will happen, or someone will come to you. Because, no matter how many times in this world that people want to say that, this is a shitty world, there's bad things that happen, yes, but there's a lot of good too.
Yeah,
and
more so, yeah.
And I think that going off of the topic with positive momentum, I still can't say it tonight. I think that we can all help each other get that snowball rolling. So,
well, I want to say David Cox, who he just chimed in recently, he said, this is a really cool story, and I appreciate, David, for you sharing this. So if you're on the Facebook Live, you watch the video later. For those of you that are on audio, he said he used to be a deputy and was in good shape, and within a month was stuck in hospitals. My kidneys just shut down, and it put me in a very bad place for a while. Then I finally talked to my doctor and spoke with others and realized I could beat the problem. Long story short, I had a kidney transplant after 7 years on dialysis,
Wow.
went back to work as a deputy sheriff, and just retired a couple months ago.
wow.
Jesus.
That's awesome.
I'm about
Yes.
to tear up. I look at this as it's real. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's natural to, when we talk about positivity, you bring up the counterpart, which is classically negativity, and I think it's very valid. I want to bring it back, closing this for me at least, and I hope you guys can bear with me, is that this whole thing is that first step, and positive momentum is when things start going well, and it's real easy to still stay with the negative thoughts, or that it's just around the corner that something's going to fail. I'm going to take another L. I'm going to I'm not going to go undefeated, and the positive momentum, it involves that. We talked earlier about the climbing the mountain thing. It's like when you reach for something, and all of a sudden it gives way, or your footing gives way, and all of a sudden you take a couple steps back. That's all part of the game. This shit's not easy. I mean, this is going to be something that you to keep moving forward. You hit that plateau like Brandon brought up earlier. You have to keep the momentum going, and sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's external. You know, someone leaves you lose a job, whatever it might be. You can go down, but you got to get back up. You really do. I mean, there's got to be something out there. You know, Will, that was a very impactful thing to me when you said that you had kind of almost a vision where, you know, you had someone actually doing that exact same thing in your own mind, that someone was reaching out to you with a golden rope or whatever. You know, yeah. It's like something that someone is there's so many people in this world, and I've been saying it more and more. I guess I'm getting my midlife crisis, but, you know, it's like you have finite time on this earth, and it's about your choices. I mean, it really is. Who you surround yourself with and how you let things affect you. And sometimes you feel like it's out of your control, but when it comes down to it, everything you do, it is your choice of how you make the next move. Because you're going to take an L when you're playing chess. You're going to have someone ahead of you sometimes in the game, and you got to respond to that in the best way you know how to do it. And that's that positive momentum. When you're doing it, it doesn't mean you put the blinders on to all negativity, because it's going to come. Someone else is going to get in there and make a better move, and they're going to get ahead of you and take advantage. But it's about that mentality of the fact that you have that momentum going forward, that you build off of it. And I said it earlier, and that's my closing remarks, is that the thing you have to trust is that when things are going well and you're putting the work in and you're actually trying to keep your circle around you very positive, that things will exponentially get better and better. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have your hardships, because that's always going to happen. And those are the things that, you know, to Jake's point earlier, embrace those L's, embrace the hardships, because that's what makes you stronger, and that's what makes you hopefully seek the next W in life.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Well, Stephen, I thank everyone for tuning in tonight of the Bourbon and BS podcast. What was that, Nate? Sponsors? Yeah. Yep, of course. So, thank you, Altadis USA, for providing the banker.
I'm smoking it right now, actually.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that very much, but it's a good cigar.
We'll feature it soon.
Yeah, it's a good cigar. Thank you, Altadis, very much. Thank you, Tinderbox at Easton and Eric Espinosa for the Laranja Toro. Awesome cigar, great medium body.
And quick plug, again, stogiebird.com. If you guys actually take advantage of our coupon code.
Yep. $5 off, right?
Bourbon and BS has the coupon code for $5 off. Right now, I think, for the rest of this month, I believe, there's an Espinosa manufacturer pack as an option.
Till the beginning of October.
Yeah.
So, take advantage of that. The samples that we got last week was awesome. We will get into a giveaway that will be coming soon. Stephen, I thank William the Red,
absolutely,
for being on this evening, and thank you for sharing those heartfelt stories. They're awesome.
No problem.
Hope you don't feel too bad.
No. Gonna take a bam.
Feel positive. Feel positive, and
yes,
keep that momentum going.
Yes,
that was some momentum over there.
Thank you, Brandon Karst.
Thank you
for being on. It's been awesome, and going out to all of you, our fans and listeners.
And thank you for the called the crew. Nate and Dustin.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Absolutely.
Production crew.
Yeah. If anyone needs to talk, give us a shout. DM us. Message us.
We also had people actually wanting to be on the podcast, so reach out to our page, and we'll figure it out. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and there's also Eric.
Yeah, the B&B.
We'll get me information down in the Bourbon Trail, like by Wild Turkey. He's got some Airbnbs that he'll actually give you 15% off if you mention the podcast.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. Episode 85. I'm Jake Sanders, along with
Steve Crane.
Yes.
I just took a sip.
I know. And we make up the Bourbon and BS podcast. Thank you, everyone. And happy Thirsty Thursday. Cheers.
Cheers.